Antiwar.com reports heading to Washington for a high-profile visit next week, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is once again bringing a substantial wish list of military gear. That was not wholly unexpected, as plans are to announce a $1 billion annual increase to the U.S. aid budget to Israel. Former Israeli Ambassador Michael Oren said the visit was going to see Netanyahu laying out what is necessary to deter Iran and that it is going to cost America $4.5 billion annually. The current aid budget is around $3.1 billion, and the planned hike was going to get it in the range of $4 to $4.1 billion per year. This hike in annual spending will be above and beyond the multi-billion-dollar one-off military aid package the U.S. is planning to give Israel as reparations for the international nuclear deal with Iran. Israel is said to be trying to avoid talks on this aid until after the annual deal is finalized, likely to avoid asking for things they were going to get anyhow. Despite being couched as about Iran, the annual increase is simply part of the endless march toward greater aid to Israel. With the latest 10-year aid package about to expire, a substantial increase was seen as virtually inevitable and sure to secure considerable bipartisan support.
Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com.
UPI reports the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration on Tuesday announced it had levied a potential $200 million fine against Japanese airbag maker Takata over defect information that the company sat on too long before notifying federal regulators. The NHTSA fined Takata $70 million and could add another $130 million onto that penalty if the company fails to abide by its consent order to address the safety issue. The NHTSA issued 2 orders against Takata for what the agency said are violations of the 1966 National Traffic and Motor Vehicle Safety Act. The agency also, for the first time, invoked authority to accelerate recalls. At the center of the defect is the device Takata uses to inflate the airbag with ammonium nitrate during a crash. Unless Takata can prove the airbags are safe, though, it is required to recall every single vehicle outfitted with them. In response to the penalty, Honda Motors announced it will no longer use Takata-supplied front driver side and passenger side airbags in any future vehicles. All of the deaths linked to the airbags occurred in Honda vehicles.
For over 35 years, Robertson Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and permanently removed the minimum purchase order for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Robertson Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 850-478-5270 or online at rrbi.co.
Reuters reports Ohio voters on Tuesday rejected a measure that could have made it the first U.S. Midwestern state to legalize the recreational use of cannabis. Issue 3, which would have added an amendment to the state constitution that legalizes both personal and medical use of cannabis for those over 21 years old, was defeated by nearly a 2-to-1 margin, according to local media projections. The states that have legalized the recreational use of cannabis so far are Alaska, Colorado, Washington, and Oregon, as well as the District of Columbia. About 24 states allow its use for medical purposes. Ohio is considered a political bellwether, and a victory for recreational cannabis in Ohio could have changed the national conversation on legalization. 7 states are expected to vote on recreational cannabis next year. Issue 3 would have granted exclusive rights for commercial cannabis growth and distribution to 10 facilities around the state. Those facilities are owned by investors in the legalization movement. Critics say that creates a monopoly and responded with a rival ballot measure called Issue 2. That measure would nullify the regulatory structure if it creates an economic monopoly or special privilege for a private entity. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Inclement weather prevents a liar from getting to work, and a lunchbox is mostly medication. Sources across the nation impatiently reported today that the 24-hour news cycle seemed to be taking forever, telling reporters that the continuous coverage from MSNBC, CNN, and other news sources was simply not continuous enough. Frustrated Americans demanded more panel coverage, around-the-clock bulletins, and breaking reactions from Twitter.
It's like, sure, I have 5 channels of unending news updates constantly flooding my screen, but each one of those only has one slow-moving news ticker. Why not 3 or 4 running at triple speed? Honestly, these networks need to understand that I can't just wait around all day for minute-by-minute coverage.
And in this week's science news, a new report finds that lake ice grows safer to venture out on with each beer consumed. In other news, the beauty industry announces a new initiative to make women self-conscious about their palms. A beautiful cinnamon bun is too good for this world, too pure. And a picky eater is 38.
This is the Onion News Network.
This is Free Talk Live. I have no idea where our network is right now, Mark. Just realized they have not connected to us. So we are going to have to figure something out in between now and then. Like I should try unmuting your microphone as well.
It's a little disconcerting when you don't know whether you're on the radio or not.
Yeah, I would say at this point we are not on the radio at this moment. But I will see what I can do to remedy that. Mark, you wanted to talk about the economic freedom chart. There's another one.
Yeah, there seems to be a plethora of these things at this point. And maybe it's indicative of the fact that, the United States keeps on showing up lower and lower on world freedom charts. It doesn't matter whether it's social freedoms or economic freedoms or freedom of the press. At this point, I have a difficult time finding any chart that the United States is on the top of, except for like military expenditures. That seems to be it. So here's one from the Cato Institute, cato.org, Economic Freedom of the World 2015's annual report. And I do think that this particular one has been out before, but there seems the field is getting more and more crowded as time goes by. It's the global economic freedom increased slightly in this year's report. So that's just generally people are freer economically than they were last year.
Around the world?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's a good thing. But it remains below its peak of 6.92 in 2007. And that, 2007 is kind of when the economic downturn took full effect too. The average score increased to 6.86 in 2013. And the most recent year for which data is available in this year's index, so that's 2013. Hong Kong retains the highest rating for economic freedom.
Number 1, year after year.
Yep.
Hong Kong, which isn't really a country, but it is kind of its own economic zone from China.
That's true. However, there were the protests there last year, earlier this year, regarding them wanting more social freedoms and sort of more democratic control, that kind of thing. So
we're on the radio, by the way, just to let you know.
That's awesome. Yeah. So the folks in Hong Kong wanting, even though they are rated the highest as far as economic freedom of the world goes, they want sort of self-determination and that sort of thing. So they came in number 1, and the rest of this year's top scores are Singapore.
Always number 2.
Yeah, since we've been watching, it's Hong Kong and then Singapore. New Zealand coming in at 8.19. This is the world's rank of economic freedoms. And, I guess when I was growing up, I was kind of the opinion that places like New Zealand, England, Switzerland, Canada, these places they're just more socialist than the United States. They've just got more big government than the U.S. does. There's no doubt that Canada has, the healthcare thing going on. Mm-hmm. But is it possible to have state-run healthcare and still be more economically free than the United States? Apparently it is, because Canada came in, I believe, at number 9 on the list. Number 8. So it's Singapore.
It's usually in the top 10.
New Zealand, Switzerland, the United Arab Emirates, Mauritius.
I've looked that one up before.
Yeah.
I don't remember how you pronounce it.
I'm sure it's just how you sound it out. I just hadn't sounded it out at that point. Jordan, Ireland, the Gaelic Tiger there, Canada, the UK, United Kingdom is more economically free than the U.S. Now, explain to me, Ian, how it is that the UK, if economic freedom is good for your economy, why is the United Kingdom lower than basically every other U.S. state as far as
Meaning,
wealth?
when you say lower, you mean better ranked.
Wealth as far as individuals go. If you look at the GDP or whatever, you compare states to other countries, you'll find that the UK is as basically Mississippi. And I think it's kind of interesting that that's the case.
So how can they have lower wealth than the other states, but
still
be
have
more
economic
economically free? I
Yeah.
don't know. That's a weird one.
Yep, it's a weird one. No doubt about it.
Mauritius.
Mauritius.
There you go.
There you
Mauritius. UK and Chile coming in at number 10. The United States, once considered a bastion of economic freedom. They're writing this. I'm not.
This
now
is Cato. They're based in the U.S.
Yeah, based in the Cato Institute. Well, I think most people would call them, at the very least, a libertarian think tank, if not a conservative think tank. Okay, libertarians would call Cato a conservative think tank, and everybody else would call Cato a libertarian think tank. Does that sound fairer? So, nonetheless, I'd say that they're an economically conservative think tank. Sounds pretty fair. They've got, they care very much about Hayek and all the Austrian economists.
Okay, this is the one that the Fraser Institute does as well. Okay, so it's Cato and Fraser Institute.
So has Cato signed on board on this one? Yeah, because that's where I got it from. It's off Cato.org.
Because this used to be I think it was just the Fraser Institute that used to do this. So I don't know when
Cato's getting involved.
Came on board.
So it's now ranks 16th in the world with a score of 7.73.
What does?
What's the United States?
16? Oh, I thought it was 20 or something like that.
20
That was a different list.
on the other list. Sorry about that. Due to a weakening rule of law, that's the United States, increasing regulation, and the ramifications of wars on terrorism and drugs. Again, this is the Cato Institute saying this, so... to me, this just seems like a foregone conclusion. Do you really think that you can have just big, giant police forces that all they do is go after drug users and put nonviolent people in jails, and that's going to be good for your economy?
Yeah, that there'd be no consequence to that.
Do you think that you can run your military, big, giant, huge floating cities, these aircraft carriers are, just float them all over the world, going after people with AK-47s living in huts? Do you think you can do that and there aren't going to be economic consequences? Consequences in the trillions of dollars? Yeah, that's what's taken your freedom. The terrorists that said that they were going to bring the United States to its knees, I believe they may have done it. And they did it by causing them to go chasing after phantoms. There haven't been that many Al-Qaeda people killed since 2001. There probably haven't been 3,000 Al-Qaeda killed since 2001.
Been at least that many U.S. troops killed.
Sure. I think about 5,000. And they had to go after the Taliban just to fluff up their numbers. Anyway, going on here.
Number 16.
Yep, number 16 for the U.S.
Now, did it say it dropped a rank?
I don't think so. I think
that.
it just held at 16.
Okay.
But it did lose some as far as score goes. So it ranked second in the year 2000. So at the end of the Clinton administration, and remember, the year 2000, there was basically no declared war for the United States. This is as prosperous as the U.S. has been in my lifetime, in the year 2000. And, there's a couple of things that you can kind of look at there. They weren't running all over the place, shooting guns. That stuff does not make you free. There was a lot more expansion.
Mark, isn't it important to spread democracy to the rest of the world? I mean, democracy is so valuable that it needs to be spread at the point of a gun.
Well,
that's going to make the world more free. Shouldn't we be able to give up some of our freedom to help the world be more free?
It sounds ludicrous, but let's go ahead and let's just take that line of thought. Do you think that democracy is going to work for people who haven't earned it, who haven't fought for it, who don't understand the value of it in that way. Because I can tell you that the people in the United States who haven't earned it, fought for it, and don't know anything about it, don't value it in the least. They want a more authoritarian government and are getting it all of the time. People want authoritarian governments until they get too authoritarian, at which point they want more freedom. And
at which point it's too late.
Yeah, their children forget. And that's just what's going to keep on happening.
Well, the kids these days in the United States are growing up with regular police raids in their schools. That's considered normal.
Well, younger people tend to be more libertarian, but probably not enough of them.
Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. If you want to join us here, you may do that. Comment on the economic freedom of the world. I mean, we've been covering these economic freedom reports for like a decade on this show.
As long as we've been doing the show.
It seems like. And it's never good news for the United States. You can join us here, 855-450-FREE. Free Talk Live.
I have a 70-pound Royal Standard Poodle. Her name is Zelia. And 3 years ago, Zelia's ears were a mess. She would have sticky, gooey, smelly discharge in her ears. We took Zelia to the vet 7 times, of $150 every time. The vet offered no success at all. My wife and I are driving, and we hear some people on the radio saying DINOVITE.
859-428-1000. The omega-3 fatty acids.
Flaxseed, zinc, alfalfa.
The digestive enzymes that are cooked out of regular dog food.
6 days after I started feeding her Dinovite, my dog's ear problems were cured. My dog no longer yelps. She can be petted without pain, and it's because Dinovite made our dog healthy again.
859-428-1000.
859-428-1000. DINOVITE.com.
My name is Bill Bonner, and I have an important message. Right now, the highest levels of government are struggling against an inevitable crisis, but they're about to lose control. When this happens, it will rip our country apart in ways you never imagined, from where we shop to the family you want to protect. Look, I've made predictions like this before. A few years ago, I warned that the housing prices would collapse. Before that, I warned that .com companies would crash, and they did. Those who listened had a chance to save themselves. But this has nothing to do with the stock market. This will affect us all. I've posted a free video at disappearingwealth.com. Maybe you'll disagree with my conclusions, but first you need to watch this video and see the facts for yourself. You can watch the video for free right now by going to disappearingwealth.com. Again, that's disappearingwealth.com.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 85% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. If you're a regular reader of freekeene.com, you know there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com.
Are you a political activist who does things that the government might not like? Then this free ebook may save your life. Rats is your guide to protecting yourself against snitches, informers, informants, agents provocateurs, narcs, finks, and similar vermin. Rats was written by OG libertarian Claire Wolfe. Rats is a short book, easy to read, and available free in many formats. Download Rats free at rats-nosnitch.com. That's rats-nosnitch.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Join us right here. You can via our toll-free number. It's 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've also got Skype. So Skype on in here at username LRN.FM. It's Ian and Mark in the studio with you tonight. If you want to save big time at Amazon, like let's say 20% on average, or how'd you like to save 40%? You can do that. I've done it. You get to select the discount that you want on your Amazon purchases when you go to saveatpurse.com. That's saveatpurse.com. You go there, you get your shopping loaded up, and the higher the percentage you want discounted, the longer it's likely going to take to fulfill your order. But man, this process works, and it works well. I've done it more than 24 times at this point, and I intend to continue, because why wouldn't you want to save 20% or more? Or less. If you're in a super hurry, you can do the Purse Instant and get a 5% savings right there without having to wait at all. So Purse is amazing. Go to saveatpurse.com and get started there. The catch is you need to use Bitcoin in order to get these amazing discounts. Purse. Go to saveatpurse. All right, let's go to Slim, listening in Canada. You're on Free Talk Live with Ian and Mark. Hello, Slim.
Hi, you guys.
Hey.
You guys were discussing the freedoms of, the supposed freedoms of Canadians and Americans in comparisons.
Yeah, what was it? Canada was number 9, I think, on the most recent economic freedom chart, number 8, and then the U.S. at number 16. So not so free in comparison in the U.S. compared to Canada.
Well, I think still even the numbers are skewed, because neither one of us are. I mean, so long as we're paying taxes, none of us are. What do you consider freedom when most of our, the monies that we're making is going towards taxes, right?
Well, I mean, there's no doubt that there's no totally free place in the world. That's
this is relative.
This is they're just comparing countries to see which are the freest. They look at various different information, different factors. I don't have the full report in front of me at the moment, but Mark, maybe you could find just a quick breakdown of the different categories. I know there's like 5 categories. There's like the freedom of the law, the freedom of opening a business, that kind of thing.
What they're claiming for the U.S. is that it's a weakening rule of law, increasing regulation, and ramifications of wars on terror and drugs is what's caused the United States to slip down.
Yeah, so they have a bunch of different factors that they calculate, and they sort of boil together and come up with some arbitrary number.
Yeah. Well,
Slim, anything else? Go ahead.
I was just wanted to say that I think we're I don't think we're that much ahead of you guys as far as freedoms wise.
Thanks for the call tonight. Yep, I appreciate it. You're right about that. I mean, as far as the rankings go, if you look at the numbers, it's like 8 point something, and then 8 point whatever. So we're still in the relatively same range, but it's enough of a difference to put Canada ahead of the United States. So enjoy it while you got it. Thanks, Slim.
The list here is the size of government, its expenditures, taxes, and enterprises.
Is that all under one heading?
Yeah, that's number one is
Okay.
the size of government.
Got it.
And so, as you can imagine, the war on terror and, frankly, the war on drugs, we can see in Colorado that the government makes money by legalizing marijuana or drugs generally. Marijuana specifically, drugs generally.
The take in Colorado has eclipsed alcohol as far as the tax dollars coming in from cannabis sales legally. It is much higher now in the dozens of billions, I think millions of dollars.
The drug war proponents in the past always said, oh, well, there's not going to be that much money coming out of drugs and blah, 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 blah. And it's just another thing that they're deluded about.
70 million last fiscal year.
70 million
Colorado.
the state of Colorado got.
Yeah, in just marijuana taxes.
Imagine what it would be like in your state, too. Is that some revenue you would prefer not to pay in some kind of other crappy tax? These people are willing to pay these taxes. They're, I wouldn't call them happy, but they're paying them.
It's $70 million into the state. I'm no fan of the state getting money. Obviously, they were getting money before.
Right. Well, there's one state that's flush with cash right now.
Yeah.
Maybe two, Washington. But that's because of the legalization of marijuana. This is just another thing we got lied to about by the drug warriors. Just one more thing. How could we trust them on any other issue? Oh, the kids will get it. Well, you look at Portugal and you look at Amsterdam, and teen drug use is down there. Which one of the things that they say that to keep drugs illegal, which one of them is true? What are we actually giving up? Because I don't know what we are giving up. I can't tell what we're giving up. A lot of jobs for cops, organized criminals, politicians, prosecutors. Yeah, I mean, there's that.
Interestingly, Mark, I just went and looked for Washington's numbers. Also 70 million. The exact same amount came in Colorado and Washington.
I was wondering to myself, it's not like Denver is that much bigger of a draw than, say, Seattle.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you want to go, Denver or Seattle? It'd be a toss-up for people.
Now, if all 50 states went legal tomorrow, odds are good it would drop a little bit because they're probably getting some money.
It'd drop a lot.
They're probably getting some money from marijuana tourism, but I don't know how much it would drop.
Right. Well, I mean,
right now, if a state goes legal, there's $70 million on the table for you, apparently.
Well, take a look right now. Let's say Vermont, which is probably one of the states that's closest to legalizing up here in the Northeast. If Vermont legalizes, has Maine done it? I mean, there was some decrim.
They have decrim.
Decrim.
So does Vermont.
Let's say Vermont just legalizes marijuana tomorrow, just like Colorado did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you think? Do you think some people are going to come from New York State?
Hell yeah.
Do you think some people might come up from New York City? Do you think people are going to come over from Maine and New Hampshire and Connecticut and Rhode Island and Massachusetts to go to this sort of central hub? Rather than getting on a plane and flying to Denver or Amsterdam or Seattle or a variety of other places, they could drive to Vermont and, pack up in a hotel that costs them $60 a night. Not that big of a deal. And up in the Green Mountains.
They'll probably have a Bud Hotel or something like that where you get weed with your room and things like that. They actually have these sort of marijuana touristy things that have been created in Colorado and Washington.
They'll have Cabot cheese tasters going around. Hey, stoned guy, you want some cheese? Yeah, I love some cheese, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, why is your state foregoing this revenue?
I don't know. It's
because
crazy.
They get revenue from you, the taxpayer, to lock people in jail. That's why. Well, it turns out even in Colorado, they don't even get that much revenue.
Let's talk to Sean.
It's just the police unions.
Sean's on the line in Santa Barbara. You're on Free Talk Live. Hey, Sean.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Hey, what's on
well, one thing is that how did they come up with all that? I heard you guys go over some of the factors, but do you think it's like on a federal level or just overall? Because I went to Canada.
You are like talking through a pillow right now. I don't know what just happened to your voice, but you completely disappeared on us. Sean, are you with us?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. You were saying something about federal whatever. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you know if it's like on a federal level or all across the board, because I went to Canada and it was really nice, but man, everything was so expensive with the VAT.
Yeah.
VAT, so-called value-added tax.
Yeah, so the pricing of things for a visitor would be wouldn't really be picked up on this chart. It would be based on sort of incomes and those sorts of things, pricing versus income. And I would say that it is based on a national level, not by province or state. I do want to talk about that because that is a interesting issue, and I've actually had conversations with Jason Sorens, the creator of the Free State Project, about this.
This is Free Talk Live.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS?
Get on board with the Tax Admiral. Don't take on the IRS alone. I'll cut penalties and reduce your overall tax bill. Sometimes I can even get it zeroed out completely.
We're an A-rated company helping people clean up their mess with the IRS.
If you owe $10,000 or more, then call the Tax Admiral.
Call 800-287-7180. Again, that's 800-287-7180. 800-287-7180. Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of Slingbow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Wednesday, gold is $4 higher at $1,118 per ounce. Silver is even at $15.32 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at an amazing $490 US. Metals took a beating yesterday as Bitcoin has gained nearly $200 in a week. Maybe it's time to cash in some Bitcoin for cheap silver. Give us a call at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. freedomsphoenix.com, constantly providing the information, the real news about government policies, and the real relationship we all have with the coercive government. The real condition of the economy, innovations in technology, breakthroughs in energy, health, and computer science. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media. The corporate media, nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but now there's an alternative. freedomsphoenix.com. Constant news updates on the issues that affect your life in the most important ways. With liberty and property under constant attack, freedomsphoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda, and it encourages the participation of its readers. Go to freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com. The revolution between the ears has already happened.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Join us right here if you want. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Talking about the decline in freedom in the United States over the years. And we've had a couple people with some experience in Canada calling up to say they don't really feel like it's that much freer there. And, you know, we may be talking about a difference in a relatively small number
it's in
of
degrees
here. But, you know, the stats are what they are, and all of the freedom rankings we've ever seen on this show rank Canada higher in freedom than the United States, and the U.S. seems to be dropping down the list.
Right, those are the charts, but you'll find people that come to New Hampshire to check out the Free State Project. They're like, you know, what's the big whoop in New Hampshire? I mean, it's not that much different. Or a lot of people who've left New Hampshire to go someplace else. Those people who, you know, at one point lived here when the Free State Project wasn't as successful, hadn't been as fully established, and they'll be like, New Hampshire, it's not what it used to be. All those people are moving up from Massachusetts, ruining the place. They'll say things like that. When you can come to New Hampshire and pay 99 cents for a 99-cent bottle of Coke and get a penny back when you when you buy it at the store.
Yep.
Like there's no sales tax, there's no income tax. You can ride around with a gun on your hip, without a seatbelt on. You can do what you want. Generally, you can't ride in a car with a gun on your hip. I should say that
if you have a concealed
walk around with a gun on your hip without asking anybody, as long as you're not a felon. There's some real marked differences between New Hampshire and other states as far as freedoms go. But some people will just say, I don't care about those freedoms. I don't walk around with a gun on my hip. What's the big deal?
Well, the size of government here is also very, very small in comparison to other states. And
so it's not noticeable.
There are a lot of things here that are way more free that aren't necessarily something you're going to see when you cross the border, that you kind of have to be here for a while to really get a feel for. And it's great being here. You can learn more about New Hampshire, the 101 Reasons to Move here. It's in video form. You go to 101reasonsfilm.com. And
it's a great movie.
Yeah, it's very good. It's only an hour long. It won't take you long to watch this thing. And man, is it persuasive. It's got some great reasons why this really is already the best place for liberty. And it's going to be even better because we've got 1,500 people here now as part of the Free State Project. There are now over 17,500 who are signed up to make the move here as part of the Free State Project. So we're going to have, within a matter of, I would say, 5 years from now, several thousand people are going to be here as part of the Free State Project. The idea of concentrating liberty activism in one place. We've seen that it already works. We know that it works. People have gotten elected here who are libertarians and anarchists.
And dozens of them.
And voluntarists. How many voluntarist libertarian state representatives does your state have?
None.
Probably zero would be my guess.
Yeah.
How many times does your local libertarian party or your Ron Paul meetup group or whatever the hell other groups people do for liberty out there, We Are Change, whatever else is out there, how often do you guys make it into the newspaper?
How often do government officials call you the biggest threat to the state?
No, it never happens outside of New Hampshire.
Well, I mean, that's a pretty extreme example, and I like the extreme ones. When was the last time you and your freedom group went to the police station and smoked out in their lobby?
Well, we did that in 2009, so it's been a while.
As a protest against a bad marijuana
But has that ever
arrest.
happened where you live? Probably not. Because numbers make a difference. Numbers make a huge difference.
The police, they get the boundary now.
Yeah. So let's go back to Sean. And by the way, Mark, wasn't there a report that came out recently that actually broke down the 50 states by wealth, and they found that New Hampshire was like the wealthiest place in the entire world or something like that of all the developed countries?
New Hampshire was number one versus the developed countries and those sorts of things, yes. So this is, if those countries were states, and by GDP, I believe. But this is a difficult thing to do, is sort of rank the United States on a world freedom chart. Sure, it comes in number 16, but you got to compare New York versus New Hampshire. You've got to compare California to Kentucky or Indiana, and there's a big difference in economic freedom between these places.
We still have Sean on the line with us, by the way, in Santa Barbara. Sean, go ahead with your thoughts.
Hey, thanks for coming back to me. I tuned in as you guys were still going through the list, so I didn't catch all of it. How was Russia? Is it on there? Because recently I read some information, which I don't have with me, but it was saying that basically Russia overall has the citizens there have a lower overall tax burden than we do here in the States. I was wondering about Russia, if you guys know much about that. Thanks for taking my call.
Hey, thanks for your call tonight, Sean. I appreciate it.
Russia is 99th. So
yeah, not so great.
It's not just purchasing power. We were going through the list of things on the chart that they checked. Size of government, the expenditures, taxes, and enterprises of that government. That's how they decide what size is. It's also legal structure and the security of property rights. So if the government can swoop in and say, take your house so that they can build an office building for Pfizer, like they did in Fort Trumbull, Connecticut, in New London, Fort Trumbull neighborhood in New London, Connecticut. That's going to knock you down the charts a little bit.
Yep.
Now, obviously, they're not going to rank it as high if your government can do it and never does. right? Like eminent domain if it's not employed. But when the government's employing that it's going to affect your numbers. So the access to sound money. And what they mean by sound money, there's no government on the planet that's issuing gold or silver, bitcoins, or backed currency. What they're talking about here is a stable currency. And I think the U.S. does reasonably well on that chart as far as sound money goes. When you're looking, say, Zimbabwe, not so good. Freedom, Venezuela right now, spiraling down the toilet bowl as far as its currency goes.
Yeah, it's really bad out there.
Freedom to trade internationally. There are a lot of people in this world that believe, you know what we need? We need to make it so that folks can just trade inside our polygon.
That would be isolationism.
Yeah, that's what isolationism is. People will call libertarians isolationists because we don't want to go around the world blowing people up. No.
That's non-interventionism.
You're right. That's a nice way to say that's not wholesale murder. Like when you understand that the Iraq War, more than 90% of casualties were non-combatants, your advocation, once you understand that then at that point, you're advocating for murder. You're saying it's so important to me that we get those terrorists that I'm willing to kill 9 innocent people. I'm willing to blow up people's kids to get some terrorists. Yeah. Oh, those terrorists are hiding behind children. Well, if I ran out trying to get a bank robber, somebody who had just robbed my home, and I shot through somebody's kid to get that bank robber, they'd call me, they'd take me to prison for murder.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they should. And so when you advocate for that, you are then a person advocating for murder. Stop.
It's not murder when they do it.
Right. It's not murder when the government does it.
It's a legal taking of life.
Well, I'll tell you what. You get out there and you work for the government and the military, and then maybe you might see that it looks a lot like murder. It looks a lot like murder.
If you want to join us, have this discussion, our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733.
Number 5, the fifth one, is the regulation of credit, labor, and business. Regulation.
The shortage of regulations around here.
Yeah,
I mean in the United States. New Hampshire, I would say, is relatively unregulated as far as a lot of industries don't have licensing here compared to some other states.
Sure, it's comparative, and all this is comparative. Regulation is probably the biggest stifling factor as far as the industry and standard of living out there.
It's a huge stifling factor as far as economic freedom is concerned, because if you're regulated to death, you can't get anything done. If you have to spend all your time, like doctors, for instance, have to spend all their time doing paperwork, they have staff assigned to just shuffling papers that are mandated by the government through this crazy insurance system that we have here. That's a huge cost of doing business to be a doctor, and most of them feel like they have to do that. Now, there are some doctors who are becoming sort of these uninsured doctors or cash doctors or whatever you want to call them, sort of outside the system doctors. They refuse Medicare, they refuse Medicaid, they refuse insurance patients, and they'll only take you if you pay cash. I think that's
a lot of times they come to your house.
Seems like the more sensible way to go these days. You can share your thoughts here on the economic freedom rankings of the world. This is Free Talk Live. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. Free Talk Live.
You can control your health care with Liberty Health Share.
Liberty Health Share is like-minded people coming together to share medical costs, which saves money.
You don't even have to pay for procedures that violate your conscience.
Because we all share the same values.
Join the movement of people who share in medical costs and change the way you pay for your health care forever.
Go to libertyhealthshare.org to find out more.
Liberty Health Share.
Together, we're changing health care for good. libertyhealthshare.org.
As a pioneer of the e-commerce movement, Overstock.com is proud to be the first major retailer to accept Bitcoin. Overstock was the first because Patrick Byrne, Overstock's CEO and founder, firmly believes in personal freedom and cryptocurrency. Over the past 16 years, Overstock has furnished over 18 million homes with a diverse line of products to suit everyone's unique styles and preferences. Support Overstock and freedom of choice while enjoying free shipping on orders of 0.211 Bitcoin or more.
You heard the discussions all over the radio. You couldn't believe what you were hearing. You trusted them. How could you have not seen the signs? You felt betrayed. Outrage set in. Your emotions began to consume you. Then, nothing. nothing. Now they're talking football. Days turn to weeks and months. Then you've forgotten. But they haven't. They're still monitoring your every move. It's coming. Monitor blockitpocket.com. Or will you forget?
This is Sharon Hunt. Before using Heart and Body Extract, my energy level was very, very low. I could only walk a few feet and then would have to sit down. I was tired and lethargic. But after taking Heart and Body Extract, my energy level has improved greatly, and I can now walk longer distances without getting tired so fast. Thank you, Heart and Body Extract.
Learn the secrets of an effective, natural, 100% organic nutritional supplement for a healthy heart and circulation at hbextract.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate it 5 stars, then share the link on social media, and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm. That's apps.lrn.fm.
If you want to move to the free state and you're looking for some real estate.
Oof, I think we've all had enough of that jingle, don't you? If you're going to invest in property in New Hampshire, it just makes sense to support a liberty-friendly realtor. Call Mark Warden of Team Porcupine Real Estate for investment property or rentals in the Free State, or visit his website. Come on, you know it.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
Hey, you can join us here on Free Talk Live. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You know, I told you earlier about how to save big time on Amazon by using Bitcoin through saveitpurse.com. Well, you can still do that, but if you don't have Bitcoin, or for whatever reason you don't want to spend it, I can understand, like right now with the price going crazy over the last 48 to 72 hours, you
may want to spend it just because it's going down. Who knows what it's going to do?
Well, you might not want to spend it because it's shooting up as well in some cases. Right now it's on the downturn, but over the last 72 hours it's been shooting up big time.
Sure has. Now might be the time to buy that computer, though, you know?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. But, of course, time does pass when it comes to purse. So, that might be something you want to hold off on. Instead, you can just go and spend your credit card dollars over at Amazon by going through our shopping links at shop.freetalklive.com. Amazon US, Amazon Canada, Amazon UK. You go through those links. Free Talk Live gets a decent portion of the purchase price. So, we don't promote that too often these days because we've really been promoting saveitpurse.com for Bitcoiners. But not everybody listening to us is a Bitcoiner and or wants to spend their Bitcoins. So if you want to just buy stuff through the old school method of Federal Reserve notes, then you can do that over at shop.freetalklive.com. And it still benefits Free Talk Live. That's shop.freetalklive.com. So our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. We've got Skype username LRN.FM. been sharing some of the factors that you've gone through this list of the 5 main headers, the categories that the Cato Institute and the Fraser Institute have looked at to judge all the countries around the world, or almost all of them. There are just a handful that they don't actually rank, like North Korea does not get ranked because they can't get data. Any data really from North Korea.
Liechtenstein doesn't get ranked either
because they're too small.
Too
right?
small. Yeah, there's a few of them that don't get ranked for
and
a
the
variety
argument
of reasons.
From somebody that was on the show previously is that Liechtenstein would be number 1 on that list because they apparently do have quite a bit of economic freedom there.
That may very well be the case. It's also essentially farmland and not much nightlife. That kind of thing.
Okay.
So
I don't know anything about it.
If you want to party, you might want to go to Hong Kong instead of Liechtenstein.
Gotcha.
But nonetheless,
Hong Kong number 1 on the list. I don't know if you happen to have the number, whatever the hell, 180 something, whatever the last place country is. Let's do the bottom 5 if you've got the full chart.
Well, I don't have the bottom 5, but I do have a list of larger economies, just sort of knowing where people are. So Japan is 26th, Germany is 29th, South Korea is 39th, Italy is 68th. This is economic freedom charts. France is 70th, Mexico 93rd. 93rd. Just they got the wrong. What is that? A suffix? Russia 99th. China is 111th. So that's economic freedom. China becoming more economically free, but not there yet by a stretch. India is 114th. India has been loosening its regulations too. It's really been coming up in the chart. And Brazil is 118th.
Really?
Yep.
It's good to know.
When these big countries like India and China throw off the fetters of economic tyranny, essentially, they will grow with leaps and bounds. They'll make their current growth look marginal compared to what they'll be able to do, just because they have so many people. Many of the anti-immigration folks are like, oh, we can't have more. The United States certainly couldn't handle more people. Oh, yeah. The United States could handle more people, and it would be really good for the economy. Economists say this all the time. The openborders.org says that you would see a one-time doubling of the world's GDP if you just opened up the borders around the world, because there are people who can't be productive because of where they are.
So you can join us here and share your thoughts. And I like your point that you've made before, Mark, that people just don't say that the United States is a free country anymore.
It's just not said.
And how could they? I mean, it's pretty clear that it's not. So if you want to join us, you can.
They'll say it's the greatest country in the world, which is a much more qualified statement. Like, what does great mean? Is it, Alexander the Great killed a lot of people. The United States has a huge military. So by that standard, yes, the United States is the greatest country in the world.
So have you heard about the changing gears here? Have you heard about what's going on with Quentin Tarantino, Mark?
Yeah, I think that there was some kind of kerfuffle about, I don't know. The cops are mad at him. That's all I can really remember.
Yeah, the police are upset because he apparently made some statements that were critical of the police. And
you can't do that.
The cops have been calling for a boycott of his movies. The story here from RT.com, Tarantino has now spoken out in response, saying he will not be intimidated by these police unions. Famed film director Quentin Tarantino who, by the way, is not a libertarian. He's just, clearly not a fan of police abuse. He did not walk back any of his comments regarding police killings, despite persistent rumors he would publicly apologize in the face of boycott threats by police unions. He said, "What I said was the truth." 10 days after making brief remarks at an anti-police brutality march, Tarantino gave the Los Angeles Times his first public statement, saying, quote, "All cops are not murderers. I never said that. I never even implied that." Taking part in the Rise Up October protest against police brutality in New York City on October 24th, he told the crowd this, quote, so this is the supposedly super offensive thing.
Yeah, this is the offensive statement.
"I want to give time to the families, however. I do just want to say, what am I doing here? I'm doing here because I'm a human being with a conscience. And when I see murder, I cannot stand by. And I have to call the murdered the murdered. And I have to call the murderers the murderers. Now I want to give my time to the families. Thank you very much." So he's specifically referring to the police who commit murder there, not every single police officer. The National Association of Police Officers, a lobbying organization.
To the police, the idea that a police officer could commit murder, thereby means, which is an obvious statement, right? Like, police have killed people. But that besmirches the whole crew as far as they're concerned. You're just saying bad things
it's the
about
brotherhood.
Right.
The thin blue line.
Nobody in the radio industry says, if a talk show host does such and such, then it makes us all look bad. They don't say that.
That's a great point, because talk show hosts are getting caught up in all kinds of crap all the time.
I'm a radio ad salesperson by day. I sell ads for Free Talk Live.
Yep.
And sometimes people say bad things about salesmen. Different types of salesmen have in the past certainly told lies and done things. I think that people who buy cars are probably just as bad as any used car salesman has ever been. But fine, whatever. I don't get all whipped up about the fact that some people say that some salespeople are bad folks.
Well, right. I mean, whatever they say isn't going to have an effect on you. You're going to call who you're going to call, and you're going to make the sales you make.
Yeah, and
right?
if you're a lawyer, and most lawyers find lawyer jokes funny, but this is just an indication of thin skin, is what this is.
Yeah, that's true. The National Association of Police Officers, a lobbying organization representing 241,000 law enforcement officers, over 2,000 police units, as well as 11,000 retired cops, and some 100,000 others who are indirectly associated.
I think that police are also concerned that they're going to be looked at, scrutinized too much, that they're in high-pressure situations, and that those situations are going to result in, some of their number being charged falsely. You rarely hear. I've never heard police unions concerned in the least bit about people who are charged falsely who are not police officers, right?
Sure.
So these are an advocate group for police, and they're not a particularly good advocate group for, say, justice, right?
It's not their job.
No, not their job. Their job is to advocate for police.
Police unions in New York, Jersey, Philly, Chicago, Houston, L.A., Orange County, San Jose have joined in the boycott for Tarantino's upcoming film, The Hateful Eight, and are encouraging members to turn down security service positions offered for Tarantino's projects. The National Border Patrol Council has answered the call as well. And this really just makes it pretty clear that they love to close ranks and protect one another. That even when Tarantino didn't say what they're saying that or suggesting that he said,
and then when given an opportunity to clarifies that he's not saying what he's not calling all police officers a bunch of crazy killers.
And yet they continue the boycott, right? They don't just shut down. Oh, we misheard you there, Quentin. We thought you said all police were killers. So now that you've clarified that only some police are killers, we're going to go ahead and remove this boycott. No, they're not doing that. They're going to continue on with the boycott because anyone who speaks out publicly against the police should be punished by their mindset. Anything that is said that is not just worshiping the police is deserving of apparently a boycott. If it's a celebrity.
Watching the Watchers is considered by many of the watchers to be a crime, to be something punishable by jail as far as they're concerned, and that just shows the state of law enforcement that we've allowed what we've allowed law enforcement to slip to in the United States. This isn't the fault of cops with their doing beat cops. This is the fault of the American people and the people they've allowed to get into management ranks in police departments.
And of course, boycotts sometimes result in boycotts. I might just go see this movie because of the boycott. 855 450 free. More on Tarantino coming up. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the new Healing Our World is a great gift this Christmas for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
You can control your health care with Liberty Health Share.
Liberty Health Share is like-minded people coming together to share medical costs, which saves money.
You don't even have to pay for procedures that violate your conscience.
Because we all share the same values.
Join the movement of people who share in medical costs and change the way you pay for your health care forever.
Go to libertyhealthshare.org to find out more.
Liberty Health Share.
Together, we're changing healthcare for good. libertyhealthshare.org.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Wednesday, November 4th, 2015. Silver is trading at $15.27 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,117 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $485. Antiwar.com reports heading to Washington for a high-profile visit next week. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is once again bringing a substantial wish list of military gear. That was not wholly unexpected, as plans are to announce a $1 billion annual increase to the U.S. aid budget to Israel. Former Israeli Ambassador Michael Oren said the visit was going to see Netanyahu laying out what is necessary to deter Iran and that it is going to cost America $4.5 billion annually. The current aid budget is around $3.1 billion, and the planned hike was going to get it in the range of $4 to $4.1 billion per year. This hike in annual spending will be above and beyond the multi-billion-dollar one-off military aid package the U.S. is planning to give Israel as reparations for the international nuclear deal with Iran. Israel is said to be trying to avoid talks on this aid until after the annual deal is finalized, likely to avoid asking for things they were going to get anyhow. Despite being couched as about Iran, the annual increase is simply part of the endless march toward greater aid to Israel. With the latest 10-year aid package about to expire, a substantial increase was seen as virtually inevitable and sure to secure considerable bipartisan support.
Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com.
UPI reports the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration on Tuesday announced it had levied a potential $200 million fine against Japanese airbag maker Takata over defect information that the company sat on too long before notifying federal regulators. The NHTSA fined Takata $70 million and could add another $130 million onto that penalty if the company fails to abide by its consent order to address the safety issue. The NHTSA issued 2 orders against Takata for what the agency said are violations of the 1966 National Traffic and Motor Vehicle Safety Act. The agency also, for the first time, invoked authority to accelerate recalls. At the center of the defect is the device Takata uses to inflate the airbag with ammonium nitrate during a crash. Unless Takata can prove the airbags are safe, though, it is required to recall every single vehicle outfitted with them. In response to the penalty, Honda Motors announced it will no longer use Takata-supplied front driver side and passenger side airbags in any future vehicles. All of the deaths linked to the airbags occurred in Honda vehicles.
For over 35 years, Robertson Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and permanently removed the minimum purchase order for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Robertson Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 850-478-5270 or online at rrbi.co.
Reuters reports Ohio voters on Tuesday rejected a measure that could have made it the first U.S. Midwestern state to legalize the recreational use of cannabis. Issue 3, which would have added an amendment to the state constitution that legalizes both personal and medical use of cannabis for those over 21 years old, was defeated by nearly a 2-to-1 margin, according to local media projections. The states that have legalized the recreational use of cannabis so far are Alaska, Colorado, Washington, and Oregon, as well as the District of Columbia. About 24 states allow its use for medical purposes. Ohio is considered a political bellwether, and a victory for recreational cannabis in Ohio could have changed the national conversation on legalization. 7 states are expected to vote on recreational cannabis next year. Issue 3 would have granted exclusive rights for commercial cannabis growth and distribution to 10 facilities around the state. Those facilities are owned by investors in the legalization movement. Critics say that creates a monopoly and responded with a rival ballot measure called Issue 2. That measure would nullify the regulatory structure if it creates an economic monopoly or special privilege for a private entity. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
Now Facebook is rolling out their newest feature, LifePoint, which analyzes users' histories to determine exactly when things went wrong. The new feature combs through photos, status updates, likes, everything that you put on Facebook in order to pinpoint how someone irreparably ruined their life. For example, it might highlight your friend's spring break trip in 2003 when she took her first shot, or your cousin's engagement to a guy named Scott spelled with a K.
So, Facebook must have a lot of depressing information to work with.
Well, we look for sadness indicators, positive versus negative adjectives and status updates, whether you've liked a corporate entity such as Walmart or Arby's.
One of LifePoint's most buzzed about features is the Life Compare function, which lets you see how your mistakes stack up to others.
Here, I'm overlaying my graph with a graph of a childhood friend. You can see his life ended up much worse than mine, which is great.
Anything with a profile has a LifePoint, so you can look forward to finding out when your favorite bands, TV shows, and companies started going downhill.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. Join us here if you'd like. The toll-free number's 855-450-FREE, discussing the Quentin Tarantino versus the police situation that has developed over the last couple weeks. At this point, it was in October when at a rally he made some statements that did not call for, or did not call all police murderers, although it seems like that's how the police are treating him. They're demanding that their officers boycott Quentin Tarantino in a supposed economic show of force. You can share your thoughts. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. We've got Skype as well. Skype username LRN.FM. It's Ian and Mark in the studio here. The story is from RT, and we'll continue with it here in moments. But first, Tom is on the line in New Hampshire to start off this hour. Hello, Tom.
Yeah, it's about that Russian plane crash over the Sinai Peninsula there. Investigators have found out that some 16-year-olds tried to order beers from the flight attendant.
You think that's why they blew it up?
And they got shot down.
Oh, gosh.
What's that supposed to mean?
It's a little joke.
Oh, I see. They got shot down by the flight attendant.
Yeah.
I see. That's cute.
Yeah, some 16-year-olds tried to order some beer, and they got shot down. Yeah. I messed up his joke.
Well, no, you helped me, Mark. I don't know if I would have.
Yeah, I know, buddy. You and jokes.
So Quentin Tarantino, who makes a pretty good movie, I gotta say. I've enjoyed the Tarantino movies.
Which one's your favorite? Pulp Fiction's the obvious answer, right?
I'm not enough of a fan to really. I can't say I've seen them more than once.
Okay.
So
I've certainly seen Pulp Fiction more than once.
I might have seen that more than once, maybe. I've certainly seen bits and pieces of it, and I've seen the full movie. That's certainly the most renowned one. The toll-free number, if you want to join us here, 855-450-FREE.
The fact that I know a director's name means that he's, pretty epic.
So Tarantino told the LA Times about the police boycott where the National Association of Police Officers, with their 241,000 law enforcement officers, is essentially telling them to not buy Tarantino product, not go to his movies, not buy the DVDs, things like that. Tarantino told the LA Times what they're doing is pretty obvious. Instead of dealing with the incidents of police brutality that these people were bringing up, instead of examining, by these people, he's referring to the protest that he was at when he made his statements.
Right.
Instead of examining the problem of police brutality in this country, better they single me out. And their message is very clear. It's to shut me down. It's to discredit me. It's to intimidate me. It's to shut my mouth. And even more important than that, it's to send a message out to any other prominent person that might feel the need to join that side of the argument. And I'd say he's nailed it with that statement. That's absolutely what is going on here. They want this attention that is being brought to Quentin Tarantino as a supposed cop hater, which he's not. He just wants cops to be held accountable for killing people unnecessarily. That's not outrageous. That's not a ridiculous thing to want.
Yeah, I would say that's more of manslaughter than murder. Just but regardless, you won't see when the police officer, the BART officer, shot that guy in the back because he supposedly thought that he was pulling his taser and instead pulled his gun and shot him. He got like a year and a half. You and I aren't going to get a year and a half.
11 months served.
Yeah, whatever it was.
Yeah.
You and I aren't going to get that for accidentally shooting somebody.
Certainly not.
Right. This is a different class.
Yeah, there's clearly double standards. So he's absolutely right, though, that they are absolutely intending to send a message to other people, other celebrities, people who might consider joining Quentin Tarantino. They're not going to want this negative publicity, purportedly or supposedly. At a three-day event last month, Rise Up October.
I don't think the police have the political juice anymore. Like right now, it seems like in the United States, this is just my perception. It seems like the average American is sick of it. We had on the Saturday show, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we had a 70-year-old woman call in and talk about how she had been manhandled by the police.
By the police in Canada.
And when you've got 70-year-old ladies calling in and talking about police are just out of control.
Things are changing. Yeah.
It's tough for you.
Well,
at this point, all you got are the cops that are on board with this, and I'd say it's some pretty large percentage of it. They feel victimized, and I get why they feel victimized. It always feels bad to be part of a class where people are saying bad things about you. Like I was just talking about being a salesman.
I don't consider to be I don't consider myself a victim if someone says I don't like those liberty activists. That's their problem.
Right. Well, what you do in those circumstances is you try to talk to that person. If they talk to you, try to talk to that person and distinguish who are you talking about,
right.
and you'll say, well, that's not me, and that kind of thing. But you don't see that going on here. These people collectivize themselves. They do that on purpose. They put the stickers on their car that says I'm part of the Thin Blue Line, that kind of thing.
Let's continue here with more Tarantino, but first, Anon calling from South Carolina. You are on Free Talk Live. Hello, Anon.
Howdy, y'all.
Hey, what's on your mind tonight?
Well, I got caught with some marijuana by the water cops.
The water cops?
The Department of Natural Resources.
So were you on a boat or something like that?
Yeah, I was on a boat.
Got it.
Uh-huh. And I got jury trial coming up here for too long, and I'm going to shoot for nullification. I'm just wondering if there's any advice that anyone can give me on this.
Well, I don't give legal advice, but I'm happy to give you suggestions based on my experience.
That's what I meant.
So what are you curious about, I guess, specifically?
Well, I'm just wondering mainly about the best way to bring up past cases, such as that I've heard about. There's been a lot of them in Colorado.
You mean jury nullification cases?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
odds are good you're going to get an objection irrelevant on that. In South Carolina, you probably don't have a right to talk about jury nullification in court, would be my guess. So odds are good.
You don't.
Huh?
You don't. That's not ingrained.
Right. So, odds are good any attempt you make is going to get shot down. I'm not saying don't try. By all means, you should try. Are you going to be representing yourself?
Yes, I am.
So, and it's a jury?
It is a jury of 6.
So, I mean, it never hurts to try this stuff and see how far you can get. I mean, in theory, you could be arrested for contempt of court in a particularly grumpy judge's courtroom for trying these sorts of things.
But they'd have to be particularly grumpy.
Yeah, generally, I would say, the worst case would typically be that there will be an objection. The objection will be sustained. And then if you manage to get the words out of your mouth and make a coherent point in front of the jury will then be instructed to strike the information that you had given to them.
Which obviously they can't. They've heard it.
But it would also be interesting to try to testify, like if you went up and actually sat in the witness stand and testified in your own case. You should have a little more leeway in that case to go ahead and just sort of speak your mind about why you have done what you've done and, why marijuana shouldn't be a crime. I think that may be the best opportunity you have, because if you're asking other witnesses, if you're asking the state's witnesses or your own witnesses questions regarding jury nullification, those are going to be objected to and shut down. By the time you end up getting on the stand, you'll have some idea for how competent the attorney is in the state's side of things, and there's a chance that attorney is just going to sit there and let you talk. So that would be, in my opinion, the best bet. Now, obviously, a public defender or someone else is going to recommend you do not testify in your own case, because obviously they're going to ask you questions like, did you have the marijuana? And, of course, you're going to have to say yes, because, of course, you had the marijuana. If you are going for jury nullification and you want to own having the marijuana, you want to, let it be crystal clear that you had the marijuana, and also make the argument that there is nothing wrong with you having marijuana despite what the law says, and that it's their duty as good human beings to nullify this thing. But all that said, you're up against a pretty tough call here, because they're going to try to stop you every step of the way.
Yeah, if you're willing to take this all the way like that, I might have a few suggestions, too.
All right, great. More suggestions for Anon, calling from South Carolina, and your calls and thoughts are welcome. You can bring up anything you want. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And maybe you've got some suggestions for him. It's Free Talk Live.
If you could choose any school from which to earn your college degree and be on your way to a better life, would you choose a school the Wall Street Journal recognized for producing some of the best qualified graduates? One the Princeton Review ranked as a leader in undergraduate education? And one U.S. News & World Report named #1 in the nation for innovation ahead of both MIT and Stanford? Discover why Arizona State University is a clear choice for your future. In addition, ASU Online offers over 100 graduate and undergraduate programs you can take 100% online and on your schedule. You'll receive the exact same curriculum, degree, and prestigious faculty as our on-campus students. For information, call 1-800-939-5359. U.S. News & World Report also ranked ASU in the top 10 best places to earn an online degree. So get started today and learn to thrive with Arizona State University Online. Call today at 1-800-939-5359. That's 1-800-939-5359.
Earthquake, floods, winter storms, prolonged power outages, or war. Each of us have had that moment when we recognize that we need to be better prepared. We typically do the same thing. We start with food storage, then we address the need for water. But have you considered heat storage? I'm talking about staying warm in the cold. Here are some things for you to consider. How will I keep my family warm? The standard answers are firewood, coal, or propane, but the problem with that if you need to be on the move is you can't take it with you. Another concern, there may come a time when you need to stay warm without smoke, like in times of war. There may even come a time when you can't burn fuel. The answers may be simpler and less costly than you think. For these answers, go to fortressclothing.com. Again, fortressclothing.com has the answers to your heat storage dilemma. Don't get stuck in the cold. fortressclothing.com. You'll never be cold again.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
Liberty activists around the country are starting to realize politics alone won't set us free. So what will? At Liberty on the Rocks, we believe the answer starts with living your principles, spreading ideas, and connecting with those around you. By starting a Liberty on the Rocks network, you can make a difference by uniting libertarian thinkers. Find out how much fun it is to build your local network from the ground up. Visit libertyontherocks.org today to get started.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. Join us here on the radio waves. Toll-free numbers 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And if you get online, you should be using ProXPN to protect yourself. It's a virtual private network. They encrypt your online data, and they offer OpenVPN, the gold standard of network encryption. They got apps for Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, and there's Linux support as well. So whatever operating system you're on, whatever device, ProXPN will likely work for you and keep you safe from the prying and the spying eyes of your ISP, as well as others. So go to proxpn.com to get started there and use code FTL50 to get 50% off the regular monthly price for the lifetime of your annual account. So you got to buy the annual account to get the awesome 50% off the regular price for the monthly account. So go to proxpn.com to get started there, and keep in mind this most important fact, I think. ProXPN keeps no logs of your activities whatsoever. So ProXPN doesn't even know what you're doing. ProXPN.com, go there, use code FTL50, that's FTL like Free Talk Live, and 50 as in 50% off. It can end up being cheaper per month than a good cup of coffee, and you can take back the privacy that is your right at ProXPN.com with code FTL50 as we continue here. Now, we lost a non in South Carolina, but I think that it's important to continue on with the conversation because it's relevant to a lot of people. We have talked about jury nullification numerous times in the past, and it's a super important issue to me and I think to libertarians in general. The idea that you as a juror get to decide based on your own conscience, meaning your feelings about how it is a case should go. So in the case of Anon in South Carolina, he said he got popped with some marijuana, and there's no doubt he had it, right? Like, he's not going to be able to prove in court, or they're going to be able to prove in court that he had the pot. That's going to be pretty clear. The cop's going to get up there. He's going to show the bag of marijuana. He's going to say, I pulled so-and-so over, and it smelled of weed. I searched his car, and I found this. And then, case closed in most courtrooms. But if the defendant knows about jury nullification, your right as a juror to vote your conscience, then there are things that can be done. And Mark, you had some suggestions you wanted to make to Anon.
Yeah, I think that what I would do here, and this is obviously, to some extent, this depends on what the judge is going to allow you to do.
And you never know until you try.
You really just don't know in these circumstances. But he did call in for advice. I
don't
think
give advice. This is suggestions based on experience.
Right. I mean, I'm sure that, just making sure that we don't use the term advice just absolves us from everything.
Well, you know how those legal people are with their legal terms in legal land.
Yeah, legal term. But the term advice isn't necessarily a legal term.
Yeah, well, I don't want people to be confused. This is not legal advice. Go ahead. We are not attorneys.
Here's a suggestion.
Yeah.
Since this is on a state level, I would I just point out the history of marijuana and why why is it illegal?
Objection, irrelevant. But, Your Honor, we are trying to determine whether or not the defendant possessed marijuana, not the history of marijuana. That is not the purview for this court.
If you're sitting on the stand, you get a bit more latitude as far as what you're going to testify about. And I'd remind the court that the prosecutor isn't going to sit his butt in jail over this, and that this is my trial and not his. And, that is a pretty strong statement to be made in front of the jury. And then, try to indict the war on marijuana as best you can, and then remind the jury of their 1,000-year right to nullify. Your Honor, this speaks to the jury's 1,000-year right to nullify this law. And at that point, the judge has to decide, does that judge wish to depart from English common law, wish to depart from 1,000 years of momentum, legal momentum, and say, you know what? The only people that should be allowed to decide what's legal and what isn't legal are lawyers. This country is run by a lawyer industrial complex, and you better like it, citizen. Otherwise, you're gonna go to jail. Because that's it's a strong stance that the judge must take. And if the judge doesn't allow you to make that, then you have opportunities on appeal. Also,
that's true.
Look at the South Carolina Constitution. Look for phrases, phrases that talk about liberty and these sorts of things, and bring them up.
Yeah, like here in New Hampshire, we have a right of conscience in our Constitution. Now, there's no guarantee you've got that in South Carolina. I don't know what they've got in their Constitution. Remember, South Carolina is the same state where they're going after people in schools. What was the issue that we hit up recently? I'm spacing on what it was, but. They're like going after students in schools for the most ridiculous nonsense. They're arrested. That was where the girl got attacked. That's what it was. So South Carolina, where it was disrupting schools, that was the charge. So
I'm sure you'll find things like that in Washington and Colorado too. It's not like these places are bastions of liberty by any stretch of the imagination. I would also point out.
I was comparing South Carolina with New Hampshire. We don't have a disrupting schools charge here. And you can talk about jury nullification here in New Hampshire. It's pretty much a done deal here that you can talk about jury nullification.
But this guy's already charged in South Carolina.
Yeah, I understand that. Just letting you know. At some point, you might get picked up again for something else, and if you're going to get arrested and charged with something, better to have it happen in New Hampshire, where you actually have liberty activists who can back you up, which was one of the points I wanted to make. I don't know, and again, Anon hung up the phone during a few moments ago, but I wanted to ask, and I will just sort of ask the universe now, to those of you listening, if you get in trouble where you are, can you count on people to come out and help you in court? Can you count on people to come out, record the court proceedings, to come out and do jury nullification outreach outside? Because you really can't do that part, the jury nullification outreach. There's some great flyers by the Fully Informed Jury Association, FIJA.org, FIJA.org, that explain what jury nullification is. I highly recommend that you acquire some of those flyers and have your friends go out, or activists, if you know any, and go outside of the courthouse, hand those flyers out on jury selection day. When the jurors are coming in to be selected, that whatever day that is, you'll find out as the defendant, because you got to be there for it. So you don't do this, because they will see this absolutely as jury tampering if you do it as the defendant. But if your friends can stand outside the courthouse and hand those flyers out and hit up every single person that walks through those doors, so that, like, for instance, the potential selectees for the jury pools are supposed to be there by a certain time. Here in New Hampshire, it's 8:30. They got to be there by 8:30. So I show up at 7:55 before the door opens, because sometimes there's a few very punctual jurors who will show up there at 7:58 or whatever, and they'll wait out front until the door opens. So if I'm 5 minutes late, I'm going to miss 5 to 10 potential jurors. So be punctual, show up on time, and hand out that information to those people. That's step number one, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because you want to get the information about jury nullification into the potential jurors' hands before they've even been picked for your jury. That way you're hitting the entire jury pool of who might be chosen. So you've sort of tainted the entire jury pool at that point. It'll be hard to put the cat back in the bag if the court, like, for instance, starts threatening the potential jurors. Like, if they come into the courthouse and they start confiscating these flyers, they're going to be they're going to be very curious about what they've been handed if the flyers are confiscated. So being there, handing those flyers out, very, very important step to this. So do you have friends who can help you with that? Because if so, start recruiting them now. Let them know when that first jury selection date is. Have them mark it on their calendar. And then you provide them with the flyers. This is your trial. This is your bag. You've got to do the footwork here. If they're willing to help, that's good. But, you got to kind of hold their hands through it. So that's step number one. If you've got suggestions for a non in South Carolina as to how he should handle this jury nullification defense, it's Free Talk Live.
There are hundreds of silver products on the market today, but there's nothing like the astonishing health benefits of the multi-patented One Silver Solution. Boost your immune system at a great price with our Silver Solution Liquid, starting at $12.95 a bottle. Now available in regular and extra strength. That's half the price of the leading competitors. Call 844-USILVER for your free catalog, or go to onesilversolution.com. Onesilversolution.com. There is only one Silver Solution.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
If you're looking for work, the person you are applying to is probably so swamped with applicants that he or she is tough to reach. So call early in the day, before 8 a.m., before the palace guards arrive. You'll need your prospect's direct number, and here's a sneaky way to get it. Suppose the company's main number is 555-5000. You should call 555-5012. When someone says, "Good morning, Pam Johnson," you should innocently say, "Oops, somebody here must have written this down wrong. I was calling for Tom Frederick. What's his direct number?" If the very next thing you hear isn't Pam giving you Tom's number, it may be, "Good morning, Tom Frederick." For more tips for job seekers and getting better results in all your day-to-day communication, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
In Survivor Max 2, School Bites, Max must scavenge through a wasteland swarming with the undead. Desperate to find the medicine he needs, he discovers a community of survivors at his former school. Has he finally found the safe haven he's been looking for, or will he discover that school bites? Look for Survivor Max on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, and read Chapter 1 at survivormax.com.
You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The Listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308.
Free Talk Live.
I'm sure I can speak for many of thousands. I don't fear illegals. I don't want them here and their filth that they bring with and the disease that they bring with.
All the people who work in the stores and the markets and the restaurants are overwhelmingly Hispanic, and they seem very clean and be doing a fine job here, and I've never heard anything about problems with disease.
For you to defend the illegal immigrants, and I'm not sure, as I said earlier, which host at what time is very condescending.
Madam, I will defend anybody that is peaceful and looking for a better life for themselves. We already pointed out.
I don't defend them. I wish that people like you.
You say that Mexicans are filthy and you call me condescending, lady? You say they're disease-ridden and filthy and I'm condescending?
And they are. And
You're outrageous. Get her out of here. Thank you for the call.
She's had all her rope. She's hung herself.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM. This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Talk Live. You may join us. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Free Talk Live t-shirts available now at gear.freetalklive.com. There's the brand new Taxes Are Theft on the front, and then the FTL logo on the back, and then just the plain old FTL logo on the front. There's also different cuts, so like the ladies' cut shirts, we got those. Gear.freetalklive.com. That's gear.freetalklive.com. We're talking about jury nullification. It's back on the table thanks to Anon, who called from South Carolina. He got popped with some cannabis and is wondering, what should he do to bring up jury nullification in court? Is it even possible? In a lot of places, it's not. They will do whatever they can to stop you from talking about jury nullification in court. So one of the suggestions that we made previously was that Anon might want to consider testifying in his own trial. Generally, attorneys will recommend against that because, well, you will essentially testify yourself into a guilty verdict in a lot of cases. Especially if you are guilty of the crime. And in this case, we don't believe it's a crime to have a plant, but the system does, and many of the jurors
Guilty is a
do.
legal term.
Right. And so, if you did have the cannabis, and you want to go with a jury nullification defense, then you've got to own having the cannabis and make it clear that there's nothing wrong with having this plant, these flowers from this thing that grows in the earth, and odds are good one of those jurors probably smoked it or currently smokes it. So, if you can
ask them if they'd be better off right now in a jail, having spent some time in a jail cell with a criminal record. Is that going to make life better? And compare marijuana to alcohol, which is legal and far more harmful.
Yeah, so I would take the stand. I would say whatever I could and hope that I did not get objected to and shut down on the stand. Further, even if they do shut down completely all mention of jury nullification and acting on one's own conscience during the trial, you can still get to the jurors by giving them information outside of the courthouse. Now, again, I recommend having someone else do that part for you, some friends, some fellow activists. Hopefully you have those down there in South Carolina to hand out that information to the potential jurors. Do it on jury selection day, which is the first time they're going to show up to possibly be chosen for the case. And there'll be probably 100 of them, potential. Obviously, they're only going to choose 13 or 14 for the act. Oh, excuse me. He said it was a 6-person jury, so it's a little unusual. Small jury. So they're going to choose 6 for the jury, maybe with 1 or 2 as alternates. And but bring 100 flyers because you're going to have to hit the entire jury pool. Then when the actual trial happens, hit them again on the way in with the same flyer. Just to make sure, because some of them are going to turn it down the first day. But if they see it a second time, they might take it the second time.
Especially if it's been confiscated and they want to know, hey, what was that thing that they took away from me?
And then so further, if you have activists in your area, they can also make signs as well. So signs are a way to reach the jury with messages that you might not otherwise have in the flyers. So, for instance, I don't know we didn't get a chance to ask him because he dropped off the line, but let's presume it's a misdemeanor marijuana offense. And
a year in jail for a bag of weed?
Exactly. Have a sign that references how long you're going to be spending in jail for this.
Because many times juries, not everywhere, but many times juries don't have any access to that information. Like
never. During
how
the
long,
trial, they are not supposed to have that detail.
It's just supposed to be guilty or innocent, and then some places they decide what the length of time is that somebody's make recommendations or something like that.
And that's another thing you can slip out during the trial. Once it's out there, then the judge can tell them, disregard that, jury. Well, if you've said to the jury during your testimony or during a closing statement or both, well, if you say it once, then you get rebuked. You probably shouldn't say it again. You'll get contempt. But if you spit out during your testimony that, and I'm facing a year in jail for this. Yeah. Objection! You can't say that stuff in court. Sustained. Jury, disregard that. Well, once they've heard it, it's really impossible to truly disregard that.
Sure.
So whether it's you saying it in the actual trial or someone outside with signs, ideally both, to really knock it into their head that, hey, look, this guilty verdict isn't going to necessarily mean that I get a slap on the hand. This could be jail for me. This could ruin my life. This could be, I lose my job, I lose my house kind of stuff for a plant. So please do the right thing and vote not guilty. So I would recommend going to jury nullification during your testimony So testifying, and then further during a closing statement as well. Try to wrap it up. Again, you might get objected to, but if you're representing yourself in court, again, this isn't legal advice, just suggestions from my experience. If you're representing yourself in court, you also generally are given more leeway. At least that's been my experience here in New Hampshire. I don't know about South Carolina. But if you're not an attorney, they can't expect you to know all of the rules that the attorneys do. The attorneys can't do the same things that you can because the attorneys have agreed to follow all those rules.
Right.
The attorney cannot say in court, my client is facing a year in prison for this. That will be big-time trouble for the attorney.
It'd be unprofessional.
Right. So you can say those things, which is one of the benefits of representing yourself in court. And if you get rebuked, you get rebuked. If you get contempt, well, you might have to sit in jail for that. So there are risks involved here, but, you're already facing jail, so you might as well take a few risks in court if it can get you out of these charges. So those are some suggestions. Try to reach out to the jurors with information before the trial. Try to reach out to them during the trial. Try to speak during the trial about jury nullification and speak about the amount of time you have to spend in jail. I think those are some of the basics. Fully Informed Jury Association, FIJA.org, FIJA.org has a lot of the information there. And also try to record the trial. Let these guys know they're on the record. And I'm talking about the people in the court, the bailiffs, the attorneys. Let them know that someone else is watching because there's probably going to be no one in that courtroom. They're not going to have your trial likely in front of very many other people. Certainly, if they know you're an activist, they are not going to have your trial in front of regulars, if you will. So see what it takes. Start researching this now. See what it takes to bring a video camera into a South Carolina courtroom. It may be that you have to file some kind of motion or fill out some sort of notice to the court. Maybe they'll want you to get some kind of permission slip. I don't know. Maybe it won't be a possibility. There are a lot of places where they just won't let it happen. So a lot of these issues and suggestions that I'm making, we do regularly here in New Hampshire because we actually have liberty-minded people who are converging here as part of the Free State Project. So when somebody is facing a criminal charge of some sort that doesn't actually involve a victim, then it's relatively easy for them to recruit people to come help them with this kind of outreach. So once you get all this stuff wrapped up there in South Carolina or wherever it is you are listening to the show having legal difficulties, once you get this put behind you, you should start considering a move to New Hampshire because it's a lot easier to face down the court system when you have people in your corner. It sucks to do this alone.
Most people aren't going to be sort of planning a move based on what it's like if they get popped for marijuana. If so, you'd see a huge exodus to places like Colorado and Washington. We've certainly seen that to California over time, but I think the reason that most people live where they live is jobs, family.
Where they grew up.
Yeah, well, family.
Yeah.
Right? Like if all their family moved away from where they grew up, they'd be less likely, even though they put down some roots. But these are the big roots are jobs and families. Oftentimes, I suppose weather might be one of the things people complain about. I think that it's a really sad complaint being from Florida and moving up to New Hampshire for the Free State Project. But oftentimes it's not. How good is my court case? How well am I going to be treated in court?
No, I understand that. I'm not looking for people to move to New Hampshire who, just want to smoke pot. I'm looking for people who love liberty, people who understand what freedom is all about, that you should be free to live your life how you want so long as you don't harm others. And if somebody understands jury nullification, they're probably a libertarian, or at the very least, friendly towards a lot of libertarian ideas. And I want the libertarians to move to New Hampshire because then you're going to have it be more likely that you get a libertarian on your jury. We actually had the jury nullification panel for the first time this year at Key Invention. We had Kathleen Converse on the panel. She talked about her experience being a free stater, a liberty lover, on a jury for a guy who was facing felony charges of marijuana growing. And she turned that jury to not guilty.
She did.
One person can make a huge difference on a jury, and if we have a concentration of activists, it means more activists getting on juries. It's Free Talk Live.
You can control your health care with Liberty Health Share.
Liberty Health Share is like-minded people coming together to share medical costs, which saves money.
You don't even have to pay for procedures that violate your conscience.
Because we all share the same values.
Join the movement of people who share in medical costs and change the way you pay for your health care forever.
Go to libertyhealthshare.org to find out more.
Liberty Health Share.
Together, we're changing healthcare for good. libertyhealthshare.org.
Are your kids spending too much time online? Are they gaming instead of doing homework? Are they on Facebook instead of sleeping? Turn their internet access on or off when you want for free at webcurfew.com. 100% web-based interface means nothing to download, install, or configure. Web Curfew is free and controls any device using your home network without slowing down your internet. Block all adult web content with the click of a button. Don't let the internet raise your kids. Take back control of how and when your home internet is used for free. Visit webcurfew.com.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states.
Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. Did you know that you can listen to and watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cam at cam.freetalklive.com? Not only that, but you can also chat with other listeners at the same time. Do I need to mention that both the studio cam and chat room are totally free? Outside of Free Talk Live's live hours, you won't see a cam feed, but will hear audio from the Liberty Radio Network. So listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. We'll take your calls. Toll free, 855-450-FREE. And you can join us on Skype. At Skype username LRN.FM. With you in studio, it's Ian.
And Mark.
That toll-free number again is 855-450-3733. Discussing jury nullification, and I'm glad this topic came up. It actually wasn't something I had necessarily in my prep for tonight, but I've been sitting on this for a few days. James Babb, who we've had on the show a number of times in the past, great Philadelphia area activist who does a lot of jury nullification outreach, was targeted
recently, and I don't remember which town he was in, but I'll get that detail for you. We've got the video of him being harassed for doing jury nullification outreach, threatened with jury tampering charges. So I've got that coming up here in a moment. But first, Dave is in Montana. He's on via Skype. Hello, Dave.
Hello, how are you tonight?
Hey, Dave. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, I want to talk about this thing in Ohio that failed with the cannabis.
Yeah, cannabis legalization failed yesterday during the vote.
Yeah, I wasn't even familiar with this.
I'm kind of glad because the way they had it set up, they were only going to allow 10 centers throughout the whole state for it. That's like letting organized crime run it or something. You know, the whole purpose of getting cannabis legal was to reduce the price so everybody could access this wonderful plant and the food, clothes, fuel, medicine, everything that it provides us. But now I could buy illegal cannabis cheaper than I could buy legal cannabis. The greedy bastards got hold of this and just stuck their claws really deep, man. The whole premise of freeing this plant, it's tyrannical to tax and control any plant.
Totally agree.
This is modern times. The kings, the tyrannical tyrant bastards that took over countries and everything, took plants away from people. Plants are a gift from the Creator, the God that we are supposed to trust in, that we print on our money and everything, is giving us this wonderful plant that could solve most of the woes in the world of today.
So I have not read a lot about the Ohio plan. I did hear that there was going to be this restricted cartel that would be allowed to sell the marijuana.
Yeah, rich people to get richer, to put a tax on it, and to charge absurd prices for it. That this oil, and then that's another thing, right? They make the cannabis legal for medical purposes, but you can't make the oil. And the oil is the medicine. That's the stuff that kills the cancer that they knew since 1974. And they admitted it, that they knew since 1974 that cannabis oil cures cancer, and millions died for no reasons, but yet they want to play this silly game like that there's some tyrannical bastard that want to grab us by the throat and take plants away from us.
It's sick. There's no doubt about it. But I'm looking here at the headlines about this. Yahoo's got a story about it, and it claims that Issue 3 would have allowed adults 21 and older to use, purchase, or even grow certain amounts of marijuana, and allowed others to use it as medicine. The growing facilities were to be controlled by private investors, leading opponents to label it as a marijuana monopoly. Do you know if this is accurate, where it says that adults could grow certain amounts, meaning that you could grow your own for your own personal use?
They always put it like maybe you might be able to have 1 ounce of dried stuff or anything. And to make oil, to make a good dose of oil to kill the cancer for 3 months, you need a pound of buds to make like 2.5 ounces of oil. And that's a 3 months thing. And another thing here, this the whole premise of the thing is to give this plant to the farmers so that they could get it to the industry. See, the problem is not the tax on it. The money made off of this cannabis should be getting the equipment to turn it into clothes, food, fuel, houses. You could go on forever and ever. There's 25,000 uses. Right now, we got to get the farmers doing it, right? Because we know the medical has been proven. We know now we have to get the industry in on it, because that's what's going to make this plant great. Well, this plant back in 1936 knew this. It was the next billion-dollar industry. Industry and hemp were going to merge. It was on the $10 bill in 1914, on the back of the $10 bill.
The hemp plant was?
They had a hemp farmer, and they had a factory on the other side of the bill. And they knew that together with industry and hemp, we could build a great country that could supply enough needs for everybody with this wonderful plant and the wonderful work ethic that America has, that used to have, and everything. But then they found out that they found oil down in Texas and Oklahoma, so they developed the Federal Reserve. They made alcohol against the law, so they took the fuel away from the farmer, because the farmer was their biggest enemy, because the farmer is the next one in charge after the tyrannical bastards, because the farmer feeds the empire. But so they took the power away from the farmer by taking alcohol away, because the farmers used alcohol to power their tractors.
David, thank you for the call tonight, man. I appreciate your thoughts. I appreciate the passion as always. There's a story here from USA Today: 6 reasons marijuana legalization failed in Ohio. We can go through some of those. The ballotpedia.org, just to get the text of what this thing said here. Ohio marijuana legalization initiative was an Ohio-initiated constitutional amendment on the ballot on November 3rd, yesterday. Voting yes would have legalized the limited sale and use of marijuana and created 10 facilities with exclusive commercial right to grow marijuana. Let's see
10
here.
facilities to grow, not 10 facilities to distribute.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure about the distribution points here. Let's see.
I mean, there's how many shoe factories are there in the United States?
Okay, so hold on.
Versus shoe stores.
Here's the detail I was looking for. So, who could have used marijuana? According to ballotpedia.org, anyone 21 years or older with a license purchased from the Ohio Marijuana Control Commission, similar to a fishing license, would have been able to use, possess, grow, cultivate, and share up to 8 ounces of homegrown marijuana and 4 flowering marijuana plants. So I get that the cartel aspect of this with the distribution centers is a problem. I'm with you there. But I still would have voted for it. I still would have voted for this, because it would have legalized the home grow for anyone who wanted to do it. Yes, you'd have to get some sort of permission slip from the state. That sucks, no doubt about it. But if that keeps you from going to a prison cell, it's a better step. It's a step in the right direction as compared to having prohibition continue. And sadly, this particular initiative failed. 64% voting no. 64% saying no to legalization.
Yeah, so it had to be 50-50?
I'm not clear on that.
Well, either way, it didn't come close to it.
Yeah. So we can go through the 6 reasons according to the...
Enjoy your taxes. Hey, may your chains rest lightly upon you, because Colorado and Washington both just saw windfalls of $70 million into state coffers. So Ohio... for those of you who voted for this, I'm really sorry. For those of you who voted against it, well, like I said, may your chains rest lightly upon you. I hope your children don't spend too much time in jail over this. I hope they don't lose their student loans. I hope they're able to get good jobs. Congratulations.
The sheer size of Tuesday's crushing electoral defeat, this is the Cincinnati Enquirer, syndicated by USA Today, of marijuana legalization in the Buckeye State surprised political experts inside and out of Ohio. Despite a $20 million campaign, the proposed constitutional amendment, known as Issue 3, lost. Amid its smoking wreckage, 6 reasons emerged to explain what happened with Issue 3 and what happens next. With 99% of precincts reporting, the amendment was defeated 64% to 36%.
Yep, sounds like it's done.
First up, number 1 reason, the business plan. Boy, that word monopoly. It's been an ugly word in politics since Theodore Roosevelt day, says political scientist David Niven at the University of Cincinnati. Issue 3 was unique in the history of modern legalization movement in that it would have written into the Ohio Constitution provisions to limit the cultivation of the state's crop to 10 already chosen properties. Issue 3's backers said the plan's advantage would have been to allow the state to tightly regulate marijuana at the grow source. The technical term for such an economic model is oligopoly, but the term monopoly got slapped on Issue 3 from the outset, and Issue 3 backers could never run it down. And it's definitely a negative aspect to the proposal to give an exclusive cartel control of this plant. Not a good idea. $8.55, $4.50 free, but it would still let individuals possess and grow a little bit, so that would have been a good thing.
Dr. Ngozi Obi is an emerging American author of Nigerian descent who's published 2 novels with an inspirational message. A third is in the works. Her first novel, Love's Destiny, follows Naira, a somewhat naive young woman, in a gripping tale of love lost and found. Her second novel, When Dreams and Visions Collide, follows Fern and friends as they discover what it takes to realize a dream and the true meaning of unconditional love. Dr. Obi's books are available where books are sold and ladyofdestiny.com.
Currency is too important a thing to be left in the hands of government bureaucrats, especially when billions of dollars can be created with the swipe of a pen. Overstock.com supports the cryptocurrency movement because it returns the power of an inflation-proof form of money to the people, where it belongs. Did you know that you can use Bitcoin to pay for anything Overstock.com sells while enjoying free shipping on orders of 0.211 Bitcoin or more? If you support freedom and the cryptocurrency movement, you should support Overstock.com.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Wednesday, gold is $4 higher at $1,118 per ounce. Silver is even at $15.32 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at an amazing $490 US. Metals took a beating yesterday as Bitcoin has gained nearly $200 in a week. Maybe it's time to cash in some Bitcoin for cheap silver. Give us a call at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate it 5 stars, then share the link on social media, and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm. That's apps.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Canaan, the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Wednesday, November 4th, 2015. Silver is trading at $15.27 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,117 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $485. Antiwar.com reports heading to Washington for a high-profile visit next week. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is once again bringing a substantial wish list of military gear. That was not wholly unexpected, as plans are to announce a $1 billion annual increase to the U.S. aid budget to Israel. Former Israeli Ambassador Michael Oren said the visit was going to see Netanyahu laying out what is necessary to deter Iran and that it is going to cost America $4.5 billion annually. The current aid budget is around $3.1 billion, and the planned hike was going to get it in the range of $4 to $4.1 billion per year. This hike in annual spending will be above and beyond the multi-billion-dollar one-off military aid package the U.S. is planning to give Israel as reparations for the international nuclear deal with Iran. Israel is said to be trying to avoid talks on this aid until after the annual deal is finalized, likely to avoid asking for things they were going to get anyhow. Despite being couched as about Iran, the annual increase is simply part of the endless march toward greater aid to Israel. With the latest 10-year aid package about to expire, a substantial increase was seen as virtually inevitable and sure to secure considerable bipartisan support.
Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com.
UPI reports the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration on Tuesday announced it had levied a potential $200 million fine against Japanese airbag maker Takata over defect information that the company sat on too long before notifying federal regulators. The NHTSA fined Takata $70 million and could add another $130 million onto that penalty if the company fails to abide by its consent order to address the safety issue. The NHTSA issued 2 orders against Takata for what the agency agency said are violations of the 1966 National Traffic and Motor Vehicle Safety Act. The agency also, for the first time, invoked authority to accelerate recalls. At the center of the defect is the device Takata uses to inflate the airbag with ammonium nitrate during a crash. Unless Takata can prove the airbags are safe, though, it is required to recall every single vehicle outfitted with them. In response to the penalty, Honda Motors announced it will no longer use Takata-supplied front driver side and passenger side airbags in any future vehicles. All of the deaths linked to the airbags occurred in Honda vehicles.
For over 35 years, Roberts & Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and permanently removed the minimum purchase order for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 850-478-5270 or online at rrbi.co.
Reuters reports Ohio voters on Tuesday rejected a measure that could have made it the first U.S. Midwestern state to legalize the recreational use of cannabis. Issue 3, which would have added an amendment to the state constitution that legalizes both personal and medical use of cannabis for those over 21 years old, was defeated by nearly a 2-to-1 margin, according to local media projections. The states that have legalized the recreational use of cannabis so far are Alaska, Colorado, Washington, and Oregon, as well as the District of Columbia. About 24 states allow its use for medical purposes. Ohio is considered a political bellwether, and a victory for recreational cannabis in Ohio could have changed the national conversation on legalization. 7 states are expected to vote on recreational cannabis next year. Issue 3 would have granted exclusive rights for commercial cannabis growth and distribution to 10 facilities around the state. Those facilities are owned by investors in the legalization movement. Critics say that creates a monopoly and responded with a rival ballot measure called Issue 2. That measure would nullify the regulatory structure if it creates an economic monopoly or special privilege for a private entity. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
The Onion looks back at this week in history. On May 6, 1937, the explosion of the German passenger ship Hindenburg brought cheer to an entire generation of Americans in the midst of the Great Depression. The souls of the American people were fleetingly revitalized by the flame-engulfed Zeppelin and the shrill screams of burning passengers leaping to their heartwarming deaths.
Oh my, it's burst into flames! The burning embers and charred flesh are cascading splendidly onto the mooring mast. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the most terrific thing I've ever seen. Oh, the luminosity, the gaiety!
And on May 7th, 2000, Vladimir Putin became president of Russia after promising citizens he could bend anything they gave him with just his bare hands. And that was what happened this week in history. In the words of the Italian philosopher Niccolò Machiavelli, whoever wants to foresee the future must first look at the past and then imagine all that old stuff looking more future-y and space-like.
Free Talk Live.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live. We're launching into the third hour of the program. There's a lot to cover here, and I hope we can get to it. Including jury nullification, some video of James Babb, a friend of the show, who was harassed and threatened with arrest outside of a courthouse in Pennsylvania. We got the video. We'll play some of that when we get a chance. But Dave in Montana called in relation to the Ohio legalization initiative that was on the ballot yesterday and ultimately went down in flames, 64% to 36%. Which is, pretty bad. That's a pretty bad turnout. It's a pretty bad result for marijuana legalization. So why did it fail? Given the, the young people of America, of course, seem to be into the whole idea of legalization. Well, that could be one factor. Young people don't tend to vote, so you might want to chalk that one up as a potential reason here. I haven't gone through the 6 reasons yet from USA Today and the Cincinnati Enquirer by Ann Sacker, her analysis of why it failed. But it seems like we're on this trajectory towards legal marijuana in the United States. So was it just too soon for Ohio? What were the reasons why it didn't work out? Number one was the business plan. There was a plan that there would be 10 chosen properties around the state, businesses who had already sort of been pre-selected, basically, that they were going to be the ones that handled this, that handled the commercial level distribution of marijuana. And that was pretty offensive. They, according to Ballotpedia,
nobody likes that. Yeah.
According to Ballotpedia.org, to tell you a little bit more about those, the amendment would have created 10 marijuana growth, cultivation, and extraction facilities (MGCE). These 10 facilities would have had exclusive rights to commercial production. It was this aspect of the amendment that led the Ohio General Assembly to add the competing Issue 2 to the ballot. I'm not sure what Issue 2 was. If you want to look that one up, Mark, I'd be curious. Oh, here it is. It's linked to Ballotpedia. Anyway, the MGCE facilities would have ran independently to prevent collusion, as required by the Sherman Antitrust Act. There would have been no vertical integration of the marijuana businesses, meaning those that cultivated the plants could also not sell directly to the public. Property owners agreed to let the 300 people that each facility expects to employ unionize and collectively bargain. And then they go on to tell you more about the investors in these MGCEs. So they had already determined who would be the people behind these things. And they actually list the names of these individuals, which include a WEBN radio host and a Cincinnati basketball star, the former general counsel of the Kroger Company, and others.
I wonder if you looked at states where they have where private sector unions are ensconced in law versus states where they're not, if you'd see growth versus states
stagnation.
Versus numbers going, people moving to states where they have these so-called right to work laws, and they always say so-called right to work. In my opinion, a job is an agreement between two people, and if an employee can decide any day of the week that I quit, and they don't have to give a particular reason or anything like that, then why is it that that an employer has all these reasons? Like an employee could decide, I don't like working for my white boss or my black boss. They could pick the most egregious of awful reasons to choose not to come into work. And no one's going to say boo to them about it.
Issue 2. Now, so we wondered what Issue 2 was. Well, it's item number 2 on the list of the 6 reasons why this thing didn't pass. Why Issue 3 did not pass. Issue 2, they're saying, is a reason. Back to the list. The state's political establishment threw everything it could to stop Issue 3. The legislature wrote Issue 2, which would prohibit market monopolies, explicitly to prevent a monopoly, oligopoly, or cartel from getting established in the state's constitution. Democratic Rep. Mike Curtin of Columbus, who calls himself a constitutionalist, wrote Issue 2. Then he helped to assemble the key opposition group, Ohioans Against Marijuana Monopolies, which pulled together nearly 140 groups from around the state to fight, including influential groups such as the Fraternal Order of Police, chambers of commerce, and a host of health organizations. The measure to legalize recreational marijuana was extreme, said Curtin. It's the most audacious proposed amendment in the state's history since we had the initiative process, he said. Issue 3 backers called Issue 2 an effort to curb the initiative process. Voters did not agree and approved Issue 2. Well, that's great. So now there's a prohibition on monopolies and oligopolies and cartels. So does that mean the state will abolish itself?
I suspect not, but I think it's worth bringing the trial, because at this point the state of Ohio claims a great deal of monopoly privilege. It claims a lot of monopoly privilege. Also, the federal government does, and it operates within the borders of Ohio. Many municipalities, they're going to be claiming monopoly privilege in many ways. So this should be really interesting. I'd love to be an Ohio lawyer right now.
Full legalization versus medical. This is reason number 3 it failed, according to USA Today and the Cincinnati Enquirer. The 4 other states that have legalized marijuana so far, Alaska, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington State, had already established programs to permit people to get marijuana to treat various illnesses. Ohio's measure asked residents to make the huge jump from prohibition to full legalization.
Yeah.
So apparently they didn't have a medical program in Ohio.
Half the states do at this point. Most of the states do.
Right. Ohioans
some kind of medical program.
Ohioans balked. Niven said, quote, "We are not California. We're not the vanguard of hippiedom. It's a leap to go from no legal marijuana to full legal marijuana."
We can't legalize marijuana here because we haven't made it legal for medical yet. That's a really dumb reason.
Yeah. And it's not the leap that folks have made. He said, Ohioans, though, says the article, are willing to consider medical marijuana. Curtin said that in debating the two measures around the state, he found that voters want to have that discussion, even though the Ohio legislature has refused for 18 years to consider medical marijuana bills. Curtin said, no doubt the topic will hit the agenda soon. Let's continue here. We'll get to the other three reasons in moments. First, Ralph is in New Jersey. You're on Free Talk Live with Ian and Mark. Hello, Ralph.
Yeah, good evening. How are you?
Hey, Ralph, go ahead with your thoughts.
Well, the House Negro, I should very well know. Well, you want me to call it that, or you want me to, call him Obama? Which one?
I prefer Obama.
Okay, Obama, El Negro, the black one. Okay, you would like to think that right now he would have a reaction about the election, since he was the one who said election has consequences. But back to him, he made a fool of himself by making a remark or a comment, and then I want to talk about the black man too, the one running in the election right now.
Dr. Carson?
Yeah. All right. Anyhow, he said something to the effect like, the last debate of the Republican, they are all weak. Oh, really, Obama? Oh, really?
They're all what?
Speak for yourself. Look at the man in the mirror.
So, wait. Carson said they were weak, or Obama said they were weak?
Obama said they were weak. Okay.
The Republicans, that all the Republicans were weak. Okay.
Right. Yes, that's what he said. Quote. It's what the
Who
man
cares?
said.
Who cares what he says? Who cares
don't care. At this point in time, I really don't care either. Okay.
Well, yeah, you do. You're calling talk radio about it. Obviously, you care.
Okay. All right. But with regard to the black man, okay,
which one?
The issue, the one running in the election right now.
Dr. Carson?
Ben Carson.
There you go. Let's be crystal clear with who we're talking about, right? Because you've already mentioned two black men in the series of this conversation. So let's use names, okay?
We haven't even talked about the American Pharaoh. He's black too.
The American Pharaoh?
Yeah, he's black too, but he's a horse. At least he was he was proving a winner.
Okay? Who is the American Pharaoh?
Say that again.
Who is the American Pharaoh?
That's the horse. That one, the racer in New Jersey.
Okay, a racing horse. Got it. What's that have to do with this?
Horse. Right. Yeah,
the horse is black?
Right. As far as he is concerned, it's about the issue of character with me, okay? He hasn't, and Bertie as well. Both Bertie and character, Ben Carson has not shown as of yet. We don't see that with Obama.
Are you a Trump guy? You're a Trump guy, aren't you?
Yes, of course I am.
Yeah, that's all you need to know. Thanks, Ralph, for the call tonight. I appreciate it. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE.
As a Republican, it's sad when the scariest candidate is in your own party. That's how I feel about Trump.
Is the scariest one? Okay, got it. They're all pretty scary to me. 855-450-3733. And I'm including the Democrats. They're all scary. Democrats, Republicans. 855-450-3733. If you want to comment here, more on the reasons Ohio could not pass legalization. Coming up.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. You can buy them through expresscoin.com with a check or money order. There are other ways to get Bitcoin, but that's fast, safe, and easy. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
My name is Bill Bonner, and I have an important message. Right now, the highest levels of government are struggling against an inevitable crisis, but they're about to lose control. When this happens, it will rip our country apart in ways you never imagined. From where we shop to the family you want to protect. Look, I've made predictions like this before. A few years ago, I warned that the housing prices would collapse. Before that, I warned that dot-com companies would crash, and they did. Those who listened had a chance to save themselves. But this has nothing to do with the stock market. This will affect us all. I've posted a free video at disappearingwealth.com. Maybe you'll disagree with my conclusions, but first you need to watch this video and see the facts for yourself. You can watch the video for free right now by going to disappearingwealth.com. Again, that's disappearingwealth.com.
This alert just came in. This special announcement is for business owners and leaders of organizations who've been waiting for the right time to build. General Steel has made it impossible to wait any longer with rock-bottom prices that could save you thousands. That's right, General Steel, America's leader in pre-engineered structures, is offering buildings at prices you will never see again. Don't miss these prices. A 50 by 100 for under $30,000. You heard right. That's 5,000 square feet under $30,000. Manufacturers, if you need a larger building, try a 100 by 100 commercial building for $129,000. You can't afford to rent with these prices. Imagine a 70 by 100 foot church building for under $69,000. With the economy improving and interest rates still at historic lows, you can't afford to wait.
Call 800-917-8251. 800-917-8251. 800-917-8251.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
Ross Ulbricht was convicted in early 2015 of running the infamous Silk Road Underground Market. The Silk Road was a gift to humanity and helped reduce the harms brought on by drug prohibition. For this good deed, Ross has been sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Now, an appeal is Ross's only chance, and he needs your support. Please visit freeross.org, where you can contribute via various methods, including Bitcoin. Visit freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Yesterday, marijuana legalization was on the ballot in Ohio, and it bombed. 64 or 60, yeah, I think it was 64%. Yeah, 64% voted against the marijuana legalization initiative there. It wasn't perfect in that it did kind of create this oligopoly or cartel of marijuana distribution. But on the other hand, it would have allowed individuals to possess and to also grow a small amount of marijuana, up to 8 ounces worth, which, you know, that's not a bad amount. I mean, you could also share that amount too. So you could grow for someone else and share it with them. I would say that this is actually an okay proposal. I mean, as far as things go, you can't ask for perfection from the political process. It's always going to be less than perfect.
I think a lot of people are very frustrated with that, and that perfection is what they demand from the political process. And well,
they must not have ever been involved in it.
Clearly not. But ultimately, you can choose to be involved in the process, or you can choose to be ruled by the process. But acting like that process has nothing to do with you is liable to end you up in a jail cell.
So I'm going to go on here. The quick recap, though. The first 3 items is the 6 items as to why
the article, Ann Sacker at the Cincinnati Enquirer thinks this failed. The business plan, the idea of the 10 commercial distributors, this sort of oligopoly, this cartel. Number 2 on the list was issue number 2, which was another one of the ballot initiatives put on the ballot by the state legislature, essentially to try to paint the issue 3, which was the cannabis issue, as something that would promote oligopolies and cartels. And I get that point.
They kind of do that with casinos,
Yeah.
gambling, because oftentimes when somebody puts casinos out, they'll say, we're just going to keep them to this area or that area. There'll
Right.
only be 5 of them or whatever it is. And they'll say, you don't want to look, people that don't want gambling at all will say, you don't want to let gambling in because it'll only be these 5. Well, if we'd have put something on the ballot that says everybody's free to gamble, if that's what they want to do, what would you do then? You'd say organized crime is going to come in. It's always something.
And then number 3, full legalization versus medical. They didn't have a medical program in Ohio, so the idea was that maybe they were jumping too far too fast. Off-year election, number 4. Ian James, the executive director of Responsible Ohio, is a seasoned Ohio political operative. He said that putting legalization on the ballot in an off-year election would be less expensive than an even year, and it would guarantee that the subject would not be drowned out by other campaigns. But when other states have considered marijuana issues, it's always been on even-year elections to capture the higher turnout. Asking voters to change something in an off-year election like reforms to marijuana, that's a death knell. And when you have only a 30% turnout as opposed to 70% in a presidential election year, said Alan St. Pierre, the executive director of NORML, that can make a difference, especially when the 30% are the elderly who are coming out.
Yeah.
I was at the polls yesterday for a couple of hours doing outreach for the Keen Liberty Alliance.
See a lot of young people?
I could count probably on one hand the amount of people in their 30s and, maybe a few more in their 40s that came out. I saw maybe one person that was in their 20s, and they were there with their parents.
Yeah.
So
Getting a ride in.
Yeah. The movement, number 5.
And a lot of these states don't have the freedom to vote the way that New Hampshire does. In New Hampshire, basically all you have to do is show up at the polls and have a heartbeat, and you're going to get to vote.
Yeah, but that still doesn't draw out young people.
I'm not claiming it does.
Yeah.
What I'm claiming, though, is that that percentage of young people that might come with their parents, like you experienced, in all likelihood, that person hasn't filled out the paperwork in advance in a state like Ohio or Florida or a variety of other places in order to be able to vote. So if they do walk in and say, hey, I'd like to vote, and they'll say, have you filled out your forms in triplicate? Here you go. You just fill out this form with the carbon copies, and we'll
copies.
I'm terribly sorry. It looks like you're not going to be able to vote. I'm sorry. Yeah. You're registered and you'll be able to vote next year. Yeah.
The movement, number 5. Marijuana activists always squabble over legalization initiatives. One reason that the 2010 proposition lost in California was because the marijuana farmers in the state's Emerald Triangle voted it down by 70%. Marijuana activists in Ohio were almost uniformly opposed to the measure. Many of them have been fighting the ban on marijuana for years. And the prospect of wealthy investors suddenly swooping down to throw money at the issue and then cashing in on the green rush was galling. Don E. Werschofter of Athens, Ohio, a lawyer and longtime activist, called Issue 3 evil and campaigned against it with a man dressed up as the banker from the Monopoly board game.
Yeah.
Said National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws St. Pierre, quote, to have the Don Werschofters of progressive liberal columnists saying, I'm all for marijuana legalization, but I don't like this ballot initiative for activists. There were any number of reasons to oppose it. And finally, number 6 on the list of reasons that cannabis legalization did not happen yesterday in Ohio was Buddy, a cartoonish mascot. Yep. Buddie. A cartoonish mascot with a head shaped like a marijuana bud did not move the conversation forward. James and marijuana legalization supporters thought Buddy would be a kitschy, ironic statement for college kids. Instead, the character turned off adults who thought Buddy would appeal to children. Quote, I definitely think there were issues with the advertising with the mascot that people didn't really approve of, said Morgan Fox of the Marijuana Policy Project. So there you have it. Maybe there will be another shot for Ohio in the future, and maybe they'll do it during a bigger election year where more of a variety of the Ohio populace will come out and actually vote and do the right thing on this issue. And again, if you legalize marijuana and you have this sort of cartel aspect of the official commercial distribution side of things, That can be changed later. I mean, it's not likely because, it's the good old boys network, and they're probably not going to change things, at least legislatively, and you probably won't find enough people willing to sign and do a petition drive just to make a tweak to a law. But it could, in theory, be changed later. In the meantime, at the very least, then people wouldn't be being arrested for possession of marijuana in Ohio. I think this was a mistake for activists to vote against this. If you're in Ohio and you can explain why you voted against this thing, I want to hear from you. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733.
I guess they just want more people to be arrested for marijuana. That's ultimately what it comes down to. More people. If I can't have it my way, we're not going to have it anyway.
I mean, I'll hold my nose and vote for a crappy legalization. I'd rather have that than have prohibition.
I'm going to vote more freedom every issue every time.
Yeah.
I get strategy and those sorts of things. I understand them. But I feel I have a moral obligation to the people that might be jailed or fined or taxed or whatever it is to help them protect themselves. Now, obviously, obligation's a strong term. If I didn't go vote at all, have I fallen? Do I owe these people something? I don't think you do. But yeah, I'm going to try. I'm going to try because I want them to do it for me.
So, to solve this problem of bad marijuana legalization efforts, we need to concentrate activism. That we've shown is working here in New Hampshire. Yeah, New Hampshire does have medical marijuana. There's a medical marijuana program. The dispensaries are expected to open early 2016. It's taken them forever to get around to
dragging their feet.
It's terrible. The medical program here is a weak one, but it at least exists, and it is a good starting point. So that's happening here, and as more people move here as part of the Free State Project, we're going to see more advancements. And the medical marijuana program is also going to be improved over time as well. It's Free Talk Live.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS?
Get on board with the Tax Admiral. Don't pick on the IRS alone. I'll cut penalties and reduce your overall tax bill. Sometimes I can even get it zeroed out completely.
We're an A-rated company helping people clean up their mess with the IRS.
If you owe $10,000 or more, then call the Tax Admiral.
Call 800-287-7180. Again, that's 800-287-7180. 800-287-7180.
A lot of people's lives and bodies are out of balance. AlkaVision Plasma pH drops optimize pH level and get rid of harmful waste and acid. Just a few drops in water restores vibrance and energy and gets you back in balance. Now order 2 bottles and get $10 off your order. Sign up for monthly auto shipping and save 25%. Call 800-518-7615 or visit alkavision.com. Alkalize your body. Supercharge your health at alkavision.com.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
If worst comes to worst, will you be prepared? You don't have to be a survivalist to prepare for the unexpected. Storing necessary supplies like food, water, and emergency equipment is simply taking responsibility for ourselves and our families when it counts the most. StrategicShelters.com offers emergency supplies and a secure way to store them, and provides protection for loved ones in the event of an extreme natural or man-made disaster. To find out more, visit StrategicShelters.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. You can help by joining the AMP program for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com and getting perks. That's amp.freetalklive.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Join us right here. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Joining you in the studio, you've got Ian.
And Mark.
We've got a website. It's freetalklive.com. Brand new site. It's been redesigned for 2015. We've been hammering out some of the bugs, and it's looking better than ever. Please go and enjoy. You can still create the content. You can still submit show topics right there to the front page of the website. You can vote on other people's show topics as well. And there's so much more, though, to the site. There's archives that go back for years. You can download those for free. You can listen live during our show hours. One of the big changes to the site is when you go to freetalklive.com during our live show hours, the front page is just the player. So it just shows you the player. And if you want, you can bypass that and go to the main site.
I love that part.
It's a very cool feature. So there have been a few big tweaks. Go check it out, freetalklive.com. We go to Gino listening in Minerva, Ohio, online. Hello, Gino. You're on Free Talk Live.
How you doing, guys?
Hey, what's on your mind?
Hey, I just wanted to say, you said something about old folks voting. You know, I'm going to be 60 in April, and a lot of my friends are late 60s, early 70s, and they all voted for it.
Interesting.
But the Attorney General here is Mike DeWine. He used to be the Lieutenant Governor, and he's a pig. He is a pig. They put all kind of fear and people going to be giving their kids marijuana, saying they're sick, and it was ridiculous, man.
Well, you know, you're right. And I want to make clear, when I said old people, I meant like 80s and like that age range.
No. You know,
because people in their 60s are the baby boomers. You guys smoked pot back in the 60s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I'm you know, the only saving grace is now I know where my pot comes from. You know, if they was going to do it this way, it was going to be these these people that already picked out the site. There was a site right up the road from me, about 15 miles in Alliance, Ohio, and they bought all kind of farmland, and there was going to be designated grow site, and you know, I think if they did it on if it wasn't an off election year, you know, I think it would do better. You know?
All right. Well, do you happen to know what it takes to get an initiative on the ballot in Ohio? How many signatures one has to collect?
I think 100,000. I think.
Yeah.
I did sign the petition with the local people here.
That's good to know. They did apparently have a $20 million budget on this, so hopefully they can raise some more money and try this again. Gino, thanks for sharing your call and thoughts, and thanks for voting for it. I think it was the right thing to do to vote for this, even though it's not perfect.
if it ends prohibition, then that's good enough. And this ended prohibition.
Well, look at alcohol, right? Essentially, alcohol is only distributed by, licensed dealers. There's usually one in every county or maybe a bit farther.
Distributors, you mean?
Yeah, distributors. And they have an oligopoly.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying that people aren't going to jail for alcohol anymore. People aren't getting shot and robbed over alcohol anymore. That's kind of important.
So you may join us here, toll-free 855-450-FREE. A little bit more about the Ohio marijuana legalization initiative that unfortunately went down in flames yesterday. 64% of Ohio voters voting against it, although only 30% actually turned out to the vote, which is a lot more, by the way, than the 17% that turned out to vote here in Keene, New Hampshire yesterday. Taxes. Along with general business taxes, fees, and assessments, marijuana production facility gross revenue would have been taxed by a flat 15% rate, and marijuana retail stores would have been taxed by a flat 5% rate. Tax revenue would have been split up in three ways. 55% would go to the Municipal and Township Government Stabilization Fund, 30% to the Strong County Fund, and 15% to the Marijuana Control Commission Fund. After Washington and Colorado legalized marijuana in 2012, the issue has increasingly appeared on state ballot measures. In 2014, Alaska's Ballot Measure 2 decriminalized marijuana, and Oregon's Measure 91 legalized recreational marijuana, with a majority of Americans now supporting marijuana legalization. 2016 could see a wave of marijuana-related ballot measures. Now, here in New Hampshire, we don't have the ballot measure process.
Which is good and bad.
I would say it's good generally because, certainly it's double-edged, but I would say the edge is mostly on the good side that we don't have that.
I've heard people argue both sides.
Sure, and I can argue both sides in that, sure, you can bypass the legislature if you have the marijuana or the ballot initiative process, but ultimately that's really the only benefit to it because what we saw where we come from, Mark, in Florida was the most asinine, ridiculous nonsense being put on these, these ballot
They
measures.
don't have a ballot initiative in Florida, but they have a way to modify the Constitution. And so we saw some of probably the best example is the supersonic train thing. Couldn't be supersonic. The super train, the bullet train. That's
high-speed rail.
High-speed rail train that was going to run between like Miami, Orlando.
I thought it was Orlando and Tampa.
I
thought it was only Orlando and Tampa.
I think it was including Miami. Anyway, whatever.
I thought it was like $10 billion just for Orlando and Tampa or some sort of ridiculous
that's the case.
Nonsense.
But it was to connect a few cities in Florida. And, if you ask people, hey, do you want the option of traveling on a super fast choo-choo? People are going to say yes.
Who doesn't like a choo-choo?
Everybody's going to say yes.
Open wide.
If you ask them, would you like the option of a dirigible rides from
Zeppelins?
Yeah, Zeppelins from Tampa to Jacksonville. They're gonna be like, that sounds nice. Would you like to take a dirigible ride? Sure. Well, I'll tell you, if dirigibles made sense from Tampa to Jacksonville.
Is it dirigible or dirigible?
Dirigible is the term I've always heard, but
okay.
You go ahead and you check it out. All right. Fine. Bathoscaphs. I don't care what it is.
That's a word I don't know. What does that mean?
It's a type of submarine.
Oh.
Whatever it might be, if you ask them, that sounds really nice. Thanks very much for the offer. I'll go ahead and vote for that. Well, it's not an offer. It's a bunch of tax money. And then taxpayers in Florida figured out, I think it was about 2 or 4 years later, hey, turns out they spent millions and hundreds of millions of dollars on, never having stuck a shovel in the ground.
Yeah, that's right.
They never put a shovel in the ground, and they'd already spent hundreds of millions of dollars on, frankly, something that nobody should have voted for in the first place. It was stupid because they were, here's what happens when you have the opportunity to spend other people's money, you get kind of irresponsible.
And also, it was the ballot initiative that brought about the smoking ban.
Yeah, there was that
in
too.
Florida. The very first show we ever did on Free Talk Live in 2002 was about what was then on the ballot as a smoking ban. And that passed with the same ridiculous 70% margin as the bullet train, and everything else just gets voted in. And so this is the danger of the ballot initiative process: is you put people who are activists basically in charge of changing the Constitution or creating new laws. Here in New Hampshire, the only way something gets passed is through the legislature. And the New Hampshire legislature is a citizen legislature. The legislators here make $100 a year. So you don't have the professional legislator types that you have in the other states, which means that the legislature here is more representative of the actual people of New Hampshire than other legislatures. And in New Hampshire, the decriminalization measure that was put up this year had 80% support in the state house. 80%. That is huge. And the only reason this thing didn't happen this year is because of the governor. And she, by the way, is leaving office at the end of this term. And in New Hampshire, terms only last 2 years.
We're going to send her off to Washington, D.C.
I don't know who we is. This lady has to run to win her Washington, D.C. seat.
Don't worry, the person she's running against stinks too.
Dirigible.
Dirigible. So there's an extra I. There's an I in there you were not pronouncing, Mark.
Dirigible. Got it.
All right. Dirigible is another possible, according to the dictionary here, dictionary.com. 855-450-FREE. Join us here. This is Free Talk Live. Bring up what you want.
You can control your health care with Liberty Health Share.
Liberty Health Share is like-minded people coming together to share medical costs, which saves money.
You don't even have to pay for procedures that violate your conscience.
Because we all share the same values.
Join the movement of people who share in medical costs and change the way you pay for your health care forever.
Go to libertyhealthshare.org to find out more.
Liberty Health Share.
Together, we're changing healthcare for good. libertyhealthshare.org.
Are you searching for your soulmate? Someone you can trust, who will never betray you, or cooperate with the NSA? Stop searching. With EasyDNS, you found a keeper. EasyDNS does it all: domain names, web hosting, and managed WordPress hosting. EasyDNS stands up for your internet freedom, and with servers in Canada, they do not cooperate with the NSA. Go to EasyDNS.com. You'll love their services or get a full refund. They guarantee it, and they accept Bitcoin. That's EasyDNS.com.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
I am a 47-year-old female and had a heart attack in 2005. This is Alice from New Jersey. I still get angina, even with 4 stents. I was taking nitro 2 or 3 times a week. The very first day after taking Heart and Body Extract, the chest pain was gone. Now I don't wear a nitro patch.
Learn the secrets of an effective, natural, 100% organic nutritional supplement for a healthy heart and circulation at hbextract.com.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. I know this sounds unbelievable, but at my house, we saved as much as 45% off of a new item on Amazon. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com. Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You can watch the LRN Studio Cam and chat with other listeners anytime at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
The show is Free Talk Live. We call it that because you may call in toll-free and bring up anything you want. 855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE. We've got time for you if you call in now. With you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And Mark.
And please join us online at freetalklive.com. If you like the show, then do become a Free Talk Live amplifier. We just redesigned the website, and let me tell you, it's not cheap to do a website redesign like this.
Certainly isn't.
It was super expensive, although odds are good. Had I hired non-libertarians, it probably would have cost me even more. So we probably actually got a really good deal on it, all things considered. But you can help us cover some of the costs of doing Free Talk Live by becoming a Free Talk Live amplifier. It helps us advertise, market, and promote Free Talk Live. And one of the ways you can do that is to go to amp.freetalklive.com. Again, brand new website. AMP page is going to look a little bit different than it has before. The AMP system's better than it has been previously. I think it's a better looking system now. Go to amp.freetalklive.com. You can get signed up there for $5 a month. And you can use any major credit card through PayPal. You can use Visa and MasterCard. You can use that directly through our website. And coming soon, we are going to be accepting a different kind of currency for the Free Talk Live AMP program. We're just waiting on a certain company to approve our merchant application. So that's been on hold for like a week. So I'm sorry I even teased it before. But at some point, we will have a third option for you. So go to amp.freetalklive.com. In fact, if you go to amp.freetalklive.com, you'll probably see what that third option is, even though it won't work for you, I don't think, at this point. But you can try it. AMP, A-M-P, as in advertise, market, and promote, amp.freetalklive.com. It makes a huge difference for us when you do this. Please take a moment. If you like the show, if you like what we're doing, this is the way to help us out. It's so critical that we have Free Talk Live amplifiers. You guys are the reason why we have over 150 radio stations airing this program at various different times throughout the week, every single week. So if you like the idea of the ideas of liberty reaching new ears, this show is the best at that. Okay? I don't like to, toot my own horn too much. But Free Talk Live is the best show in the liberty movement to reach newbies. It's easy to reach people in the liberty movement. There's plenty of podcasts out there, and in fact, we're proliferated with podcasts.
We help with that by creating the Liberty Radio Network.
Right. And the AMP program supports the Liberty Radio Network as well at lrn.fm. But to reach people on the radio, there's only one other show that's doing it, and that's the Freedom Fiends. And they're doing a great job, but they're in the middle of the overnights, and they've only got like 30 stations. We've got 150 stations airing us in the evenings and other times. So if you really want to reach new people with the ideas of liberty, we're doing it in a way that is unmatched in the entire movement. So if it's worth $5 a month to you to reach newbies with the message of liberty, then please go to amp.freetalklive.com. As we go to the phones, to the fun, Glenn, listening in Philly, you're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Glenn.
Hello.
Hi there.
Did you say we're proliferated with programs? Anyway, but it's dirigible. Man, a dirge is a funeral song, like But it is dirigible.
Dirigible. That's right.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. So I'm the self-appointed internet language corrector.
Well, thank you so much for that.
That's my calling.
Were you calling about another thing?
We all appreciate it.
No, just the dirigible thing made me squirm.
That's it? It says here you wanted to talk about voting.
Just that was what you were talking about, and that's where dirigible came from in the context of high-speed trains. I think the high-speed train just went east to west, coast to coast, didn't it?
I think you're right about that. I think Mark's wrong that it was connecting Miami with anywhere. I'm pretty sure it was just Tampa to Orlando in Florida, and they ultimately repealed that.
Just east-west shot. Yeah, that's
Thanks, Glenn, for your call tonight. Appreciate it. Justice is on the line, calling from Siberia on Skype. Hello, Justice.
Hello there, Ian, Mark. Thanks for taking my call.
Is it snowy in Siberia yet? I don't know what it's like up there.
We had about a foot of snow, but it melted off, global warming and all that.
All right.
Looking at the Florida high-speed corridor is to run from Tampa to Orlando to Miami.
Oh, wow. Okay, there you go.
As always, Mark is right.
No, I was certainly wrong on the pronunciation of dirigible, as that gentleman repeated over and over.
All right, go ahead, Justice. What are you calling about tonight?
Yeah, I wanted to just talk about travel. Back a few months ago when I was haying, I listened to Free Talk Live in my earphones while I'm working in my field, and you guys were talking about the Uber taxi service and air travel. And I wanted to mention, here in Russia, we've had Uber-like services forever. And you can get a taxi ride for like an average of $2.50 in American currency. Pretty much anywhere in a city of 1 million people. I mean, it's incredible. And that's like, people will say, oh, that's because, their wages are really low. Well, that's true, but vehicles here are like 3 times as expensive as in the U.S. because of the customs on the border. And you'll like have like yesterday I needed to get a taxi ride from point A to point Z, and like a Mercedes X5 showed up. It was like $2.50, please. Like,
nice.
So I mean that's just the power of competition and free markets and everything, and every city. Russia's got, I don't know, 5 or 6 different Uber-like services we just call in, and they don't have a taxi park. It's just a bunch of people sharing rides and making a buck, and that's kind of the thing that we could have if you just allow for it.
Now, Uber is operating in Moscow, according to the Uber website. Obviously, Siberia is not necessarily next to Moscow, but have you heard anything about Uber being cracked down upon in Russia at all?
No, I seriously doubt that Uber would get cracked down. The only reason why Uber would get cracked down on in Russia is because it's a foreign operator. But if they were cracked down at all. But like I said, every single city in Russia has, bunches of ride-sharing apps.
It'd be hard.
Like that, so.
It'd be hard for Uber to compete against that. I mean, why would Uber go into any place but Moscow if we're talking about $2.50 a ride?
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. And you're talking about an extremely established market. I mean, it's not like Uber can come in and be the first kind of guy on the block. So and the other thing that I wanted to mention is just in kind of relationship to dirigibles and fast high-speed trains is so many people will talk when we talk about in the liberty community. A lot of people's first objection is who would build the roads or what would the transportation infrastructure look like. And I just wanted to make a comment that it wouldn't look like anything we have right now. And one of the kind of lab tests for that or examples for that is air travel. The United States used to have one of the largest, well, and still does, but not anything like it could be, small aircrafts, general aviation industries in the world. And then we got the Federal Aviation Association back in the 60s. Prior to the 60s, your average 5-person, basically like the sedan of aircraft, an airplane, not a luxury model, costs between 2 and 2.5 times more than your average motor vehicle. And then after the FAA came into existence in the 60s, within about 10 years and all of their millions and millions of dollars worth of regulations on every single piece of equipment that you put in an aircraft, your average aircraft today costs, new aircraft costs about 20 times more than a comparable auto vehicle.
It's probably not just regulation. It probably has to do with supply and demand because of the licensure that they've required for flying, which, any, small-time pilot will say, man, it's just crazy the amount that they have to do. That drives down demand, and when demand's lower, it's going to make this thing more rare.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. But when you look at just the cost of like kit planes, which use a loophole to get around the regulations, and they're still within that 2 and 2.5 times range.
Oh, is that so?
You can get and so it's incredible. But you can't do anything with that plane legally other than just take it up for a ride. You could never haul someone commercially for that. You can't haul produce commercially with that. You can't do anything with that.
Can you fly yourself from one location to another?
Yeah, you could do that.
So potentially, that's what a lot of people buy planes for.
Yeah. So it's just interesting, how that works. So like without, let's say, the FAA, you'd most likely have a situation where you'd have your car for inside the city, and then you'd probably have some kind of a Uber-like taxi pool aircraft for all of your outside or outside.
And of course
the
FAA, as we discovered several weeks ago or a few months ago on the show, has been cracking down on ride-sharing services for the sky as well. So there were a couple of companies that wanted to kind of be the Uber of the skies, and basically the FAA has completely shut them down for the time being. I believe there's a lawsuit that is in progress there. Justice, thanks for the call, and stay warm there in Siberia. Appreciate hearing from you tonight. Uber apparently operating in a few different Russian cities. I'd never heard of this one. Novosibirsk.
Novosibirsk?
Yeah, that's a Russian city in which Uber is operating. Anyway, we'll be back tomorrow night. You can join us online between now and then. Check out our brand new website and enjoy it. It's still free. Go to freetalklive.com. Get interactive there.
Money, power, and respect are all yours at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Be seen as an industry leader. You can do it. The last application you filled out when it was time to hit submit, did your nerves spike? You didn't get the approval you seek, but there's a better way. We teach you exactly what to place into the right systems the right way the first time so you get approved. Get up to $100,000 in instant business credit. Many people will get cash on the spot. Use those two tools in your new corporate credit engine so you can walk into the bank and get your project funded today. It's all about today at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Credit Success Secrets Revealed is explosive and ignites instant results. Dial 1-800-707-8719. That's 1-800-707-8719. 1-800-707-8719. Or just go to CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com.
If you want to play online poker with Bitcoin, you need a site that's trustworthy and technically sound. The site managers of swcpoker.eu have proven their commitment to bringing you great gameplay from a site you can trust, swcpoker.eu. They have lots of new games too, including Chinese poker, and their Krill leaderboard is open right now. It's a beautiful site, easy to use with lots of players. Go on over to swcpoker.eu now and have some fun with your Bitcoin. swcpoker.eu. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Cop Block Radio is up next, live after the news on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Wednesday, November 4th, 2015. Silver is trading at $15.27 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,117 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $485. Antiwar.com reports heading to Washington for a